high in the rugged mountains of Utah, along winding roads and snow-dusted peaks. By day, they offer warmth, light, and a place to rest. By night, some are portals to something far more sinister. Visitors report flickering lights, pumps that start on their own, and shadows lurking behind the convenience store windows. Whispers echo through empty parking lots. Figures appear in reflections, only to vanish when approached. Some drivers swear they have been followed by unseen presences, their engines growling in the darkness, even when no one is behind them. Hello, my dear friend. I hope you are safe tonight, because what we are about to explore is not for the faint of heart. Utah's mountains are breathtaking. But some of the gas stations scattered along these peaks are far from ordinary. Some visitors hear footsteps echoing in empty aisles. Whispers carried through the chill night air. And objects moving without human touch. Others see shadowy figures standing near pumps, watching silently, or glimpses of pale faces in glass windows. The air in these stations often feels thick, heavy with a presence that refuses to leave. Before we step closer, let me ask you a question. If you could see a figure standing by a gas pump in the middle of the night, would you stop to look, or would you drive past and never return? Take a deep breath, my friend, and let us enter the haunted mountain gas stations of Utah. Midnight Pine Station sits perched on a lonely mountain pass, its weathered sign swinging gently in the cold night air. By day, it appears as an ordinary gas station, a refueling stop for weary travelers winding through steep curves and dense pine forests. The mountains loom large, casting long shadows across the pavement, yet it is only when darkness falls that the station reveals its true nature. It is only when darkness falls that the station reveals its true nature. Visitors report hearing footsteps along the roof long after the station has closed. Heavy, measured steps that echo across the tin and shingles, as if someone walks with purpose above, yet no one is ever seen. The sounds rise and fall unpredictably, sometimes growing louder as if approaching, then fading into silence, leaving only the chill of night in their wake. Inside, shadows twist and move in ways that seem impossible. A dark shape drifts between the aisles of the small store, bending and stretching as it passes. On occasion, these forms take on a vaguely human appearance, lingering for a moment before vanishing entirely. Customers and employees alike have felt the sensation of being watched, a gaze that seems to follow every movement, unseen yet undeniable. The gas pumps themselves have a mind of their own. Late at night, visitors report seeing nozzles rise and fuel begin to flow, even when no cars are present. Some have arrived to find pumps running and empty containers spilling onto the concrete, only to see the phenomenon vanish as quickly as it began. The mountain seems to hold a power over the station, a force that refuses to let travelers leave unobserved. Locals tell stories of the spirits that linger here. They speak of travelers who never reached their destinations, caught by snowstorms, poor visibility, or the treacherous curves of the mountain pass. Some say their souls remain tethered to the station, walking the roof, drifting through the aisles, or even attempting to complete journeys that can never end. Every creak of the floorboards, every flicker of light in the pumps, is a reminder of lives interrupted and destinations left unreachable. The station itself seems aware of its guests, alive in subtle, unsettling ways. The hum of fluorescent lights flickers without cause, doors swing slowly on their hinges, and the temperature drops in isolated patches, chilling the skin. Patrons describe the feeling of being drawn into the building, as if the station is testing, observing, or simply insisting on attention. Every sense is heightened in the darkness, every shadow carries meaning, and every echo suggests the presence of something that should not be there. On the mountain pass, the wind carries sounds differently. The rustle of trees and distant wildlife mingle with footsteps and whispered voices, creating a soundscape that is disorienting and unnerving. Travelers sometimes glimpse vague figures moving in the lot, vanishing when approached, leaving behind only the memory of shapes that felt real and deliberate. The combination of isolation, darkness, and the constant presence of the unknown makes Midnight Pine Station unlike any ordinary stop along a highway. Some visitors have described fleeting glimpses of travelers from other times. A man in old-fashioned clothing, a woman carrying a suitcase, a child running toward the station. They appear for moments at the edge of vision, only to disappear into shadows. These fleeting impressions suggest the mountain holds not only those who were lost, but the memory of those who came before, preserved in ways the mind struggles to comprehend. The night itself seems to deepen the station's influence. Fog drifts along the mountain, curling around pumps and buildings, muffling distant sounds while amplifying those that are near. Lights inside the store cast long, wavering shadows that twist across walls and floors. Patrons report a feeling of being guided or watched, the sense that the mountain and its station are not passive observers but active participants in a ritual that has persisted for decades. Even the most skeptical leave with unease. The station's ordinary appearance by day belies the depth of its secrets. Every objecta, the shelves, the pumps, the roof itself, carries the memory of lives halted and journeys interrupted. The mountain preserves these stories, embedding them into the station, turning it into a place where time and space blur, and where visitors walk alongside echoes of the past. Midnight Pine Station is more than a stop on a highway. It is a monument to lost travelers and unfinished journeys. A location where the boundary between the living and the restless is fragile. Every flicker of light, every unexplained movement, every sound that cannot be traced reminds visitors that some places are never empty. Here, the mountain holds memories tightly, and the spirits of those trapped by its eternal night continue to wander, waiting for travelers to arrive, observing silently, and keeping the stories alive. As darkness deepens, the station becomes a theater of unseen activity. The wind carries whispers. Footsteps trace the roof. Shadows flicker between shelves. And the pumps hum with life unbidden. For anyone who passes through after nightfall, Midnight Pine Station is a haunting reminder that not all journeys end, and that some roads, no matter how traveled, lead only to the eternal watch of the mountain and the spirits who remain. Eagle's Perch gas stop sits perched on the edge of a cliff, overlooking winding roads and the valley below. By day, the view is breathtaking, with sunlight spilling across the landscape and casting long shadows from the surrounding pines. Travelers often stop to admire the scenery, stretching their legs and enjoying the calm that comes with the height and distance from the busy world below. As night falls, the station transforms. The lights inside the convenience store glow warmly, but the glass windows begin to reflect shapes and movements that do not belong. Figures appear fleetingly, standing at the edge of the lot or moving along the cliffside, vanishing the moment anyone approaches. The air grows cooler, carrying a sense of anticipation, as if the place itself is holding its breath. Visitors have reported whispers that rise and fall across the empty forecourt. Names are called softly, sometimes clearly, sometimes blending with the wind. The voice seems to come from the store, or perhaps from the shadows along the pumps. It is subtle at first, barely audible, yet persistent, drawing the attention of those who wander too close to the building after dark. Objects occasionally move without explanation. A soda can slides across a counter. A paper cup tips over or a napkin drifts from its holder. Nothing in the store or outside appears capable of causing these movements. The effect is brief, but it leaves a lingering unease. Guests often glance over their shoulders, half expecting to see someone standing there. Yet the lot remains empty, silent except for the whispering wind. The feeling of being watched is constant. Even when standing near the pumps under the bright overhead lights. Travelers speak of an intangible presence, a weight at the edges of perception. Shadows shift unnaturally along the walls and the surrounding cliffside. Sometimes forming shapes vaguely human, sometimes only suggesting movement in the corners of vision. Every glance toward the windows seems to reveal a figure that disappears as soon as it is fully seen. Inside the convenience store, the atmosphere is no less unsettling. Shelves that should be still seem subtly displaced, as if something invisible has passed between them. The air carries faint, unplaceable scents, a mixture of gasoline, dust, and something older, almost metallic, lingering like a memory of events long past. Some visitors report hearing footsteps echo across the wooden floor of the store or along the asphalt outside. They pace slowly, never rushing, vanishing when approached. The sounds are deliberate, measured, almost like someone performing a nightly routine repeated for years, unseen yet felt. The whispers continue, sometimes urgent, sometimes gentle, drawing travelers toward corners of the store or the edge of the lot, only for the voices to fade into silence when curiosity peaks. From the cliffside, the valley below adds another layer to the experience. Moonlight reflects off distant trees, and the sound of wind through the pines seems to carry with it soft sighs, faint conversations, or distant laughter that cannot belong to any living person. The combination of isolation and elevation amplifies the sensations, leaving visitors with the uneasy awareness that the station is not entirely empty. Those who linger too long speak of fleeting glimpses at the windows. Faces appear, sometimes only partially, with eyes that seem to follow every movement. Figures stand near the pumps, motionless, and then dissolve into the darkness as if the night itself absorbs them. The effect is disorienting, blending reflection and reality, making it impossible to determine if what is seen is real, imagined, or something entirely beyond comprehension. By the early hours of dawn, the atmosphere shifts subtly. Shadows retreat, the air warms slightly, and the windows reflect only the empty lot and the surrounding landscape. The whispers fade into the wind, the sliding objects come to rest, and the feeling of being watched lessens. Yet the memory lingers, etched into the minds of those who witnessed the activity. Iglia's perched gas stop returns to the calm, inviting daytime facade. But the energy of the night remains, waiting quietly for the next travelers who arrive. Eagle's perched gas stop is more than a refueling point or scenic lookout. It is a threshold between the ordinary and the unseen. A place where shadows carry history, whispers preserve memory. And the night holds a presence that refuses to be ignored. Travelers leave carrying more than a memory of the view. They carry the sensation of being observed, the echo of whispers, and the lingering knowledge that some things at the edge of perception are never fully gone. Shadow Creek Station sits at the edge of a winding mountain road, where the creek below reflects the fading light of dusk. By day, the station appears quiet, almost deserted, yet there is a sense that the place is never truly empty. Its weathered pumps and worn signage hint at years of travelers passing through, each leaving a trace that refuses to fade. As night falls, the station takes on a different character. Lights flicker intermittently, casting long, twisted shadows across the pavement. The shadows stretch and shift in ways that feel unnatural, as if they have a life of their own. Visitors often pause, sensing movement at the edge of vision, a presence that vanishes when directly observed. Figures are sometimes seen standing near the pumps. Pale, indistinct, they seem frozen in time, their hollow eyes reflecting the dim glow of the flickering lights. They do not speak, yet their stillness conveys a story of travelers who never reached their destination. Guests report an unsettling sensation, as though they are being watched by someone waiting for something long forgotten. Sounds carry strangely at Shadow Creek Station. The roar of a distant engine echoes through the mountains, yet no car is in sight. The clink of a fuel pump or the slam of a door can be heard, unaccompanied by any vehicle. Each noise seems amplified, reverberating through the cold night air and drawing attention to the emptiness that is never quite empty. The station itself seems to hold memory within its walls. Dust settles on counters and shelves. Yet footsteps echo along the creaking floorboards. The smell of oil and faint exhaust lingers in the air, as though the station remembers the presence of travelers long gone. Every corner, every shadowed alcove, hints at stories of journeys interrupted and destinations never reached. Visitors often describe a sense of displacement when walking through the station. Time feels warped, the distance between spaces stretching or compressing without reason. A pump that seemed just steps away a moment ago can feel impossibly far in the next, creating a subtle disorientation that amplifies the station's otherworldly aura. At the creek's edge, the water murmurs softly, carrying whispers that seem to come from nowhere. Some claim they hear their own name spoken on the wind, or phrases that feel simultaneously familiar and foreign. The voices are never threatening, but they leave an indelible impression, a reminder that the mountain holds both memory and presence. Locals speak of Shadow Creek Station in hushed tones. They say it is a waypoint for spirits of past travelers, those who perished on treacherous roads or vanished without explanation. The station is more than a refueling point. It is a liminal space where the living and the departed intersect, where time and memory coexist in delicate balance. Even the simplest interactions are tinged with unease. A visitor may lift a pump handle, only to feel it resist for a moment, as if the station itself hesitates to allow passage. A door may swing open with no breeze, revealing a darkened room, empty yet charged with presence. Each subtle movement reinforces the notion that Shadow Creek Station is inhabited by forces unseen but deeply felt. The landscape surrounding the station contributes to its haunting atmosphere. Trees cling to the mountainside, their branches twisting in the wind and casting shifting patterns across the pavement. Fog often rolls down the valley, obscuring the creek and the road beyond, leaving visitors with a sense of isolation, suspended between the natural world and the echoes of the past. Those who linger report fleeting glimpses of figures walking the mountain roads. A shadow moves along the tree line. A pair of lights appear and vanish. And the faint outline of a traveler pauses at the station, before disappearing. It is as if the spirits are retracing their journeys, bound to the station by the unfinished business of their final miles. Despite the unease, there is a strange beauty to Shadow Creek Station. The interplay of light and shadow, the murmuring creek, and the distant mountain silhouettes create a cinematic setting where history and memory coexist. Every element of the station seems imbued with significance. Each sound and movement part of a larger story etched into the night. Even when visitors leave, the presence lingers in memory. The flickering lights, the pale figures at the pumps, the distant roars and slamming doors remain vivid. Shadow Creek Station exists as a threshold, a place where the past continues to move alongside the present, and where the spirits of travelers are never truly gone. To pass through Shadow Creek Station is to experience the quiet persistence of memory. Every shadow, every whisper, every step carries the weight of lives once lived and journeys once undertaken. The station stands as a testament to the unseen, a place where the mountain and its stories converge, leaving visitors with a lingering sense of wonder and unease that endures long after the road has been traveled. Frostbite Mountain Gas sits isolated among towering, snow-covered peaks, a solitary beacon along a winding highway. By day, the station serves weary travelers, the warm glow of its lights a welcome sight against the endless white. Yet, as night descends, the station transforms. The warmth fades, replaced by a chill that seems heavier than the mountain air. Travelers recount an eerie stillness that descends once darkness falls. Whispers drift through the aisles, soft at first, then growing insistent. They carry names, gentle warnings, and the sense of unseen eyes watching every movement. Some claim the whispers echo from corners where no person stands, moving through the store as if searching for something long lost. The sound is never harsh, but persistent enough to make hearts quicken and heads turn toward empty spaces. Figures appear unexpectedly, framed behind frosted windows or reflected in the glass of the gas pumps. They are indistinct, often glimpsed for only a moment, but enough to suggest the presence of someone standing quietly, observing. Their forms are human, yet the details remain elusive, blurred as if the mountain cold has stolen their edges. The chill in the air is not just from the snow outside. Visitors have felt sudden drops in temperature, a biting cold brushing their skin even in well-insulated spaces. Some describe the sensation of an unseen presence beside them, a weightless pressure that seems to accompany every step. The feeling is fleeting but undeniable, a reminder that the station is more than a bodega, it is a threshold between the living and the lingering souls of the mountain. Inside the store, the fluorescent lights flicker intermittently, casting long, wavering shadows that seem to shift with a life of their own. A stack of cans might topple without warning, or a door creaks open as if inviting a visitor to follow. Some have heard the soft scraping of footsteps along the concrete floor, though the store is empty. Every sound seems amplified by the mountain silence, each echo carrying a weight that feels older than the building itself. Outside, the wind sweeps across the snowdrifts, yet it sometimes fails to explain the strange movements at the pumps. Drivers report seeing figures reflected in the polished metal, standing still and staring. When they turn to look, the space is empty, leaving only a sense of unease. Lights along the station sometimes flicker in patterns, as if signaling to the unseen or responding to a presence no one can touch. Travelers who linger after dark speak of shadows gathering near the edge of the parking lot, just beyond the reach of the station lights. They describe glimpses of figures pacing or watching silently, disappearing when approached. The experience is subtle but cumulative, a quiet pressure of observation that weighs on the mind. Some have left hastily, their nerves frayed, convinced that the mountain holds more than snow and stone. Stories persist of night voices echoing warnings. Names are called with urgency, carried on whispers that weave through the cold air. Some have felt these voices guide them, while others feel admonished to leave. Each encounter reinforces the notion that the station is haunted not by anger or malice, but by a lingering need, a tether to a world lost to the harsh mountain conditions. Despite the isolation, Frostbite Mountain Gas draws travelers with its eerie allure. There is a fascination in the cold and quiet, in the glimpses of figures and the soft, insistent whispers. Guests feel an invisible history pressing against the walls, the floor, and the ceilings. The station becomes a place where time folds, where echoes of the past continue their routines, unseen yet felt with clarity. Some say the spirits were lost to the mountain long ago, stranded by snowstorms or accidents on the treacherous peaks. Others believe they are travelers who never reached their destinations, returning each night to wander the station and the surrounding lot. Their presence is subtle, woven into the architecture, the cold, and the shadows. Those who encounter them speak of sensations rather than visions, a quiet intimacy with lives that no longer exist in the world outside. Frostbite Mountain Gas is more than a stop along a highway. It is a threshold between past and present, a meeting place for the living and the unseen. The whispers, shadows, and cold serve as reminders of those who remain, tethered to the mountain and the station. Patrons leave carrying the memory of subtle touches, fleeting figures, and voices that seem to follow them even down the winding road. As the night deepens, the station stands quietly, lights glowing faintly against the dark, snow-covered peaks. Whispers drift through the aisles and along the pumps. Shadows linger at the edges of vision. And the cold presses gently against the skin. Frostbite Mountain Gas continues its silent watch. A place where the lost souls of the mountains endure. And where visitors can feel, just for a moment, the weight of the unseen and the presence of those who never left. Raven's Hollow Station sits quietly at the mouth of a dark, winding canyon. By day, it is an unassuming gas station, a stop for travelers seeking fuel and a brief respite from the narrow, treacherous roads. The canyon walls rise sharply on either side, casting long shadows across the lot. By night, the station becomes something entirely different. Visitors often describe a palpable tension in the air as dusk falls. The once ordinary convenience store seems alive with subtle movements. Shadows flicker along the walls and aisles, too deliberate to be caused by passing headlights or drifting tree branches. They twist and stretch, sometimes forming vague shapes that appear almost human, before dissolving into the darkness. Whispers float through the air, soft at first, then gradually growing clearer. Names are called, phrases repeated, voices that seem to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. Patrons feel the sensation of being watched, the unseen eyes of something waiting patiently, observing their every action. Even the faint hum of the overhead light seems to vibrate with energy, as though the station itself is aware of each visitor. At the pumps, travelers have reported sudden chills and the sensation of cold hands brushing their shoulders. Some glance into the reflective surfaces of the pump nozzles and see a figure standing silently behind them, eyes fixed and unblinking. When they turn, there is nothing there, only the quiet desert night and the faint echo of their own heartbeat. The canyon around the station holds its own secrets. Locals warn that many who ventured into its twisting roads never returned. Over the years, tales have emerged of travelers vanishing without a trace, leaving only their vehicles abandoned along the cliffs. It is said that the spirits of these lost souls linger at Ravenna's Hollow, tethered to the station by unfinished journeys and the sudden finality of their disappearances. Inside the store, ordinary objects behave strangely. Shelves creak without cause. Doors swing open and shut as if pushed by invisible hands. And the faint aroma of coffee or food drifts through the air. Patrons often describe the feeling of being guided. As if unseen forces are directing their steps. Drawing attention to areas where shadows move or whispers linger. The experience is not confined to a single night. Travelers who pass through the station repeatedly report the same phenomena. A shadow in the corner, a whisper across the floor, the fleeting glimpse of someone in a reflection. Even the most skeptical cannot explain the sensations that rise with the canyon's darkness. Nor the way the night seems to thicken around the station, pressing in on all who enter. The experience is not confined to a single night. Outside, the canyon echoes with sounds that should not exist. The scrape of boots along rock. A sudden metallic clang. Distant murmurs that travel along the walls of stone. And vanish into the night. The station, standing at the threshold, becomes a witness to their endless return. Travelers describe a mixture of fascination and dread. The night air feels heavier here, charged with memories of those who never left the canyon alive. Even in the quietest hours, the sensation of being followed, observed, or even touched lingers. Some step back from the pumps and find their heart racing, their mind replaying moments that have no explanation, yet feel profoundly real. Ravenna's Hollow Station is more than a stop along the road. It is a convergence of past and present, a place where the living brush against echoes of the lost. Every flicker of light, every shifting shadow, every whisper that drifts across the lot or store becomes part of the story carried by the canyon. The spirits here are patient, waiting for the next traveler to arrive, guiding, observing, and ensuring that the memory of their final journeys endures. As night deepens, the station stands silent yet alive. The shadows growing longer and the whispers clearer. Pump handles move as if held by invisible hands. Shelves groan. And the air carries the faint scent of lives interrupted. Visitors leave with a sense of unease that lingers far beyond the canyon walls. Knowing they have been in a place where the past refuses to remain buried. And the spirits of those who vanished continue to watch from the darkness. Ravenna's Hollow Station reminds all who pass through that some roads are never truly empty. The canyon holds its secrets tightly. And the station at its mouth becomes a portal to the stories of those lost along the cliffs. Every visitor becomes part of the ongoing presence. A witness to whispers, shadows, and the silent watch of travelers who never completed their journey. Blackridge Station sits perched on a mountainside, isolated from the nearest town by winding roads and steep cliffs. By day, it appears ordinary, a simple stop for travelers to refuel and rest. But as darkness falls, the atmosphere changes. The station becomes a place where the ordinary blends with the unseen. And the silence is heavy with anticipation. Visitors entering the parking lot often hear footsteps echoing across the asphalt. The sound is deliberate, paced, and impossible to place. No one is there when they turn, yet the echoes continue, circling them, fading, and returning again. The emptiness of the lot makes the sound sharper, each step feeling closer than it should. Figures sometimes appear behind the glass doors of the station. At first, they are mere shadows, then fleeting glimpses of forms, tall or hunched, moving as if browsing the shelves. Approaching them brings nothing but emptiness. The reflection in the glass suggests a presence that is never fully tangible, leaving a sense of being observed, as though the spirits themselves are aware of every movement. The gas pumps are not exempt from the strange activity. On quiet nights, they turn on without explanation, the hoses rattling as though filling an unseen vehicle. Some travelers report seeing the faint outline of a car that disappears when approached, leaving only the lingering hum of the pump. It is as if those who never reach their destination continue their journey in the station's shadow, bound to the road they could not survive. Whispers travel with the mountain wind. Names are called softly, sometimes familiar, sometimes strange. They seem to come from nowhere, carried along the slopes, slipping through the gaps in the station's walls. The whispers stir unease, pulling attention toward corners, the tree lean, or the empty forecourt. Yet there is never a visible source. Travelers report a constant sensation of being watched, an invisible presence marking their every step. Inside the station, the atmosphere remains heavy. Some report cold drafts that pass without cause, brushing across arms or down the neck, carrying the weight of something unseen. The fluorescent lights flicker intermittently, casting shadows that move independently of the building's structure, creating the sense that the station itself is alive with history. The stories from locals add to the station's reputation. Blackridge Station has long been associated with travelers who never made it down the mountain. Accidents on the winding roads are common, and some say the spirits of those lost continue to roam, replaying their final moments. Their presence is subtle yet undeniable, lingering in the echo of footsteps, the flicker of lights, and the movement of shadows that vanish when approached. The mountain wind heightens the experience. Whistling through cracks in the building, it carries both sound and sensation, blending the natural with the supernatural. Visitors often feel a brush against their shoulders, hear a distant sigh, or glimpse a fleeting figure at the edge of vision. The isolation amplifies every sensation, making it impossible to ignore the station's peculiar energy. Time seems to stretch at Blackridge Station. A short visit can feel like hours, with each moment layered with subtle disturbances. The echoes of those who never left the road alive are woven into the building, the lot, and the surrounding slopes. The whispers, footsteps, and moving shadows persist long after travelers depart, lingering as a warning to others who might stop here after dark. By the first light of dawn, the strange activity diminishes. Footsteps fade into silence, shadows retreat, and the pumps remain still. The station appears ordinary once again, a simple pit stop along the mountain road. Yet those who have been present know the truth. A place where the memories of the lost are etched into every surface, a reminder that some journeys never truly end. Visitors leave with more than a refueling stop in memory. They carry the sense of unseen eyes, whispered names, and fleeting shapes that refuse to be explained. The mountain road winds onward, but Blackridge Station remains, holding the presence of those who could not continue their journey. A silent sentinel over the path that claimed them. Moonlit Pass gas sits perched atop a winding mountain road, where the curves and cliffs of the pass create a sense of isolation. By day, the station appears ordinary, a simple waypoint for weary travelers. Yet under the moonlight, the place takes on an unnatural glow, as if lit from within by something unseen. Shadows stretch along the walls and across the cracked pavement, moving in ways that seem independent of any light source. The air grows unexpectedly cold, pressing against skin and seeping through clothing. Visitors describe a sensation of being watched, an invisible presence that follows every step, yet never fully reveals itself. Figures sometimes appear at the pumps. They are pale and still, frozen in place as if caught between moments. Approaching them, however, reveals nothing. They vanish without warning, leaving behind only the faint impression of movement and the echo of footsteps that were never real. The convenience store at Moonlit Pass Gas holds its own mysteries. Faint laughter drifts from within, light and hollow, echoing against shelves and counters that are empty. Occasionally, objects seem to shift subtly, a can or bottle moving as though someone had just reached for it. There is no sense of malevolence, only the persistent presence of those who linger unseen. The mountain pass itself adds to the station's eerie atmosphere. Mist often rolls down from higher elevations, obscuring the cliffs and the road beyond. Car headlights appear and disappear through the fog, leaving travelers with the unnerving feeling of isolation and uncertainty. Every curve and switchback seems to stretch time, heightening the awareness of the station as a place apart from the ordinary world. Visitors report hearing distant engine roars, the hum of tires on asphalt, and the faint click of car doors closing. These sounds seem to circle the station, moving with an untraceable origin. They draw attention to the emptiness, reinforcing the sense that Moonlit Pass Gas is a threshold between what is seen and what is hidden. The station's architecture contributes to its unsettling presence. Weathered walls, flickering lights, and long shadows create a tableau that seems almost cinematic in its effect. The pumps, though stationary, appear alive in the moonlight, their forms casting distorted reflections that blur the line between reality and memory. Some travelers claim to have glimpsed the spirits of lost drivers along the road. Pale figures pause at the edge of the station, their faces indistinct yet familiar. They stand silently, as if waiting for someone to join them, before disappearing into the mist or fading with the shifting shadows. These sightings are fleeting, yet leave a lasting impression, as though the mountain itself preserves fragments of past journeys. Even the simplest experiences at Moonlit Pass Gas carry weight. A footstep seems louder than it should, a whisper of wind mimics a voice, and every flicker of light suggests movement just beyond perception. The station becomes a study in patience and perception, forcing visitors to navigate not only the physical space but the subtle interplay of memory, presence, and the unknown. The surrounding landscape amplifies the sense of liminality. Watching silently over the pass makes every visit to Moonlit Pass feel both timeless and immediate, a space caught between night and memory. For those who linger, the atmosphere grows heavier. The chill of the night seems to cling to the skin. And faint voices or laughter echo across the pavement. Visitors describe an invisible tug. A subtle pressure that urges movement or attention. As if the spirits are gently guiding them through the space. Reminding them that the mountain roads hold more than simple travel. Despite the unease, there is a strange allure to the station. The interplay of light and shadow. The distant echoes of vehicles. And the occasional glimpse of a figure create a setting steeped in mystery. Moonlit Pass Gas is not a place to fear but to observe. To experience the delicate balance of presence and absence that defines the mountain's nocturnal life. Even after leaving, the station lingers in memory. The flickering lights. The pale figures at the pumps. The laughter from the convenience store. All remain vivid. Moonlit pass gas exists as a waypoint not only on the road but in the imagination. A space where the night itself feels alive with history, memory, and quiet persistence. To encounter moonlit pass gas is to step into a space shaped by time and the lingering essence of travelers who never truly left. Every shadow, every sound, every fleeting glimpse of a figure adds to the sense that the mountain preserves stories in its fog, in its stones, and in the glow of a gas station that is never empty, even under the quiet sweep of the moon. Silent Pine Station sits isolated, surrounded by thick forests that seem to close in from every side. During the day, it serves as a quiet stop for travelers, the hum of the pumps and the faint scent of coffee providing comfort against the towering pines. Yet, as night falls, the station transforms. Shadows deepen, the trees seem to lean closer, and an unsettling stillness descends over the lot. Visitors often speak of faint whispers that drift through the trees, carried on a cold breeze. The voices are soft at first, indistinct murmurs that seem almost part of the wind. But linger for a few moments, and the words feel deliberate, naming passers-by or offering cryptic warnings. The sound moves with a subtle rhythm, weaving between the branches and across the pavement, impossible to locate but impossible to ignore. Inside the store, the air feels heavy with expectation. Figures sometimes appear just beyond the shelves or near the counter. When looked at directly, they vanish, leaving no trace. Customers have reported seeing silhouettes pause near displays. Their movements deliberate yet silent, as if observing the living without any intention of interaction. The gas pumps themselves have been known to react as though touched by unseen hands. No one is at the controls, yet the handles lift. The lights flicker, and fuel meters tick with no vehicle attached. Travelers approaching these pumps often feel a prickling sensation along their skin. A subtle awareness that something or something is present just out of sight. Many visitors describe the sensation of being watched. It is not a fleeting glance but a steady, patient gaze, coming from the edges of the lot or the dense tree line. Shadows appear to shift when observed, forming vague outlines that resemble human shapes. At times the feeling grows so intense that people leave hurriedly, unwilling to remain under the weight of unseen attention. The interior of the store adds to the unease. Shelves seem to rearrange themselves, cans tipping over without explanation. The quiet is punctuated by occasional thumps, footsteps echoing across the floor with no person in sight. Every sound is amplified in the silence of the night, and every movement is magnified by the imagination of those present. Outside, the forest presses close to the pavement. Trees sway even when the air is still, and dark shapes flit between the trunks. Some travelers have glimpsed figures moving among the pines, their faces obscured, their intentions unclear. Whether these are memories of the forest or lingering spirits of those who came before, no one can say. But the effect is tangible, a sense that the natural world itself has become alive with unseen watchers. Even the air at Silent Pine Station carries a presence. Cold drafts drift through the lot, brushing against skin with no apparent source. The temperature can drop sharply near the pumps, and the sensation of a heavy gaze follows wherever one walks. It is subtle but persistent, an invisible pressure that seems to bind the living to the station and its shadows. Those who linger speak of an uncanny awareness, as if the station remembers them. The whispers, shadows, and fleeting figures all suggest a place where time folds upon itself, where past and present brush against each other. Some feel compelled to listen closely, to interpret the murmurs carried on the wind, while others choose flight, unnerved by the persistent sense of observation. Unnerved by the persistent sense of observation. Despite its isolation and eerie reputation, Silent Pine Station continues to draw travelers. There is a fascination in its quiet menace, a pull toward the unknown that cannot be fully explained. Patrons leave with memories of moving shadows, whispers in the trees, and the feeling of eyes watching from places unseen. Each visit becomes a story to recount, a brush with the unseen that lingers long after the engine starts and the headlights disappear down the forest road. Night after night, the station stands unmoving among the pines. The whispers continue, shadows gather and dissolve. And unseen hands play with pumps and doors. Silent Pine Station endures as a threshold between the known and the unknown. A place where visitors can sense the presence of those who watch from the darkness. And feel, however briefly, the touch of the unseen that calls the forest home. Near the edge of a deep and shadowed canyon lies a gas station. Its neon sign flickers erratically, casting brief, uneven glows. The wind carries a sharp chill, cutting through the night air, as if warning visitors to turn back. The road here twists dangerously, cliffs dropping into darkness. And the station itself seems to cling to the canyon edge, as though it has grown from the rock over centuries. Locals speak of it in hushed tones, warning that those who stop here after dark may not leave unchanged. The stories are not loud or violent, but they linger in the mind, unsettling in their subtlety. People speak of footsteps echoing on the concrete when no one is present, the sound following them closely while they pump gas. They glance over their shoulders, expecting to see another traveler, only to find the lot empty. Inside the convenience store, the atmosphere feels heavy, almost suffocating. Shadows move along the walls, gliding independently of any light source. The fluorescent lights buzz intermittently, casting the store in a rhythm of dimness and sudden glare. Every reflection in the glass doors and windows seems to hold a secret, a fleeting glimpse of something pale and terrified. Faces appearing for a moment before fading as if swallowed by the air itself. Visitors have described the feeling of being watched, an invisible presence lingering just out of sight. Shelves of snacks and supplies sometimes seem to rattle without cause, as if brushed by unseen hands. The air grows inexplicably cold near certain corners, the kind of chill that seeps into bones and makes the hair on the back of the neck rise. Some say the scent of cold stone or faint smoke drifts through the store, even when the doors are closed, adding to the sensation that the canyon has its own memory, holding on to those who once fell into its grasp. Outside, the canyon looms like a silent sentinel. Travelers recount the strange echoes that bounce off its walls, sometimes resembling whispers, other times resembling cries of warning carried by the wind. The sound seems almost alive, a warning that this place remembers the missteps of drivers who came too close to the edge. Vehicles passing by late at night are said to experience flickering headlights, sudden engine stalls, or brief glimpses of figures darting along the precipice, disappearing before anyone can react. At the pumps, some have reported seeing faces in the reflective chrome, pale and distorted, mouths open in silent screams. The reflections linger only for a heartbeat, leaving a lingering impression of sorrow and fear. Yet there is never harm, only a reminder of the canyon's treachery and the station's watchful presence. Each story carries a common thread, suggesting that those spirits belong to travelers who lost their lives along the dangerous road, their energy lingering here, tethered to the station and its precarious perch above the abyss. Even during the day, the gas station carries a certain weight. A stillness that sets it apart from other stops along the highway. The air seems thicker, as if carrying memories embedded in the stone and concrete. Workers and locals avoid lingering unnecessarily, taking care to acknowledge the station in passing but never engaging with it longer than necessary. Yet for those who come seeking the unusual, the station offers an experience unlike any other, where the boundary between the living and the lost feels surprisingly thin. Many travelers who have braved the station at night speak of a strange sense of time distortion. Minutes feel like hours, and the canyon appears darker and deeper than it should. Some have claimed to hear distant voices calling names, almost coaxing visitors toward the edge. While others feel the sensation of being gently guided back, an invisible hand steering them away from danger. It is as if the spirits themselves are divided, some restless and yearning for attention, others protective and cautious. Despite the unease, there is a strange beauty to the station. The wind moves through the lot with a haunting rhythm, carrying the scent of pine and stone. Travelers report moments of eerie calm, where the silence feels deliberate, as though the canyon and the station are holding their breath, waiting for something. In these moments, the experience is almost meditative, a reminder of the fragile line between safety and peril. Stories of the gas station have spread beyond the local community, attracting those curious about the supernatural or the mysteries of the canyon. Yet each visitor leaves with a personal tale, often a mix of awe and apprehension. Some swear they felt the presence of someone walking beside them, never seen but unmistakably real. Others describe fleeting glimpses of figures in the distance, watching silently before disappearing into the shadows. Every encounter reinforces the idea that the canyon and its station are more than just a stopping point, they are a threshold between the world of the living and those who remain tied to the cliffs above. As night deepens, the station takes on an even more spectral quality. Lights flicker against the walls, shadows stretch and warp, and the wind carries whispers that vanish as quickly as they appear. Drivers stopping here after dark often report a heightened awareness, sensing the presence of something beyond the ordinary. Yet there is no threat, only a quiet insistence that this place remembers, that it watches, and that the spirits of those lost to the canyon still linger, keeping silent vigil over all who pass. For those who dare to stop at the station, the experience is unforgettable. It is a place where the ordinary meets the extraordinary, where the line between memory and reality blurs. Travelers leave with more than fuel and snacks, they carry stories, impressions, and a subtle awareness of the canyon's ancient power. Dark Canyon Gas Stop is not simply a station along a road, it is a living monument to those who have fallen, a testament to the mysteries that persist in the spaces between shadow and light. Even as the sun rises and the chill lifts, the station retains its quiet authority. Its neon sign pulses gently in daylight, a reminder of nights when shadows dance and whispers linger. Travelers who pass through find themselves changed, carrying with them the weight of the canyon stories, the memory of faces seen only in reflections, and the lingering echo of footsteps that belong to no one. The memory of faces seen only in reflections. And the lingering echo of footsteps that belong to no one. Dark Canyon Gas Stop remains, steadfast and watchful, perched above the abyss, a sentinel of memory, mystery, and the unseen world. Frostwind Station sits atop a winding mountain road, surrounded by endless stretches of snow and ice. The building seems ordinary, yet there is a strange allure in the dim glow of the lights. The snow crunches underfoot as visitors approach, and a cold seep seems to follow them inside, chilling every step they take. Stepping through the door, a faint draft brushes past, carrying with it whispers that cannot quite be understood. The warmth expected inside is missing. Instead, there is an unnerving cold that settles in the bones, making the hair on the back of the neck rise. Inside, the station feels alive in a way that is difficult to explain. Figures can be glimpsed in the aisles, standing just beyond reach. They move with silence, sometimes appearing behind counters, their forms barely distinguishable from the shadows. They observe, yet they never speak, and when a visitor turns, they are gone as if dissolved into the walls. The lights above flicker intermittently, casting elongated shadows that stretch across the floor. Each flicker seems to shift the room slightly, bending angles, and creating spaces that feel both familiar and entirely alien. A bell tinkles somewhere in the distance, though there is no one at the door. The sound echoes through the hollow interior, mingling with the faint whispers carried on the wind. Some travelers swear the murmurs are warnings, cautioning them to leave before the storm outside claims them. Others hear names being called softly, voices that seem to float from the corners of the room. Locals speak in hushed tones about Frostwind Station. They tell of travelers caught in sudden blizzards who never made it down the mountain. It is said that these lost souls linger here, trapped between the warmth of life and the cold grip of the mountain. They remain silent observers, appearing briefly to remind the living that danger is never far away. The main counter holds the remnants of a long-ago hospitality, with coffee cups left where they were last used, and a register that sometimes clicks on its own. Patrons report feeling a presence behind them, a gentle brush of air or the sensation of being watched. It is never threatening, but always noticeable, a reminder that Frostwind Station is not empty. Outside, the wind howls through the peaks, carrying the scent of snow and pine. It presses against the windows, rattling them with sudden gusts. Shadows flicker across the walls as snow drifts past the lights, making the building seem as though it exists between two worlds, one of warmth and familiarity, and the other of cold and isolation. Some visitors have tried to capture photographs of the apparitions, only to find the images reveal nothing. The camera lens fails to grasp the subtlety of the presence, the way it lingers on the edge of perception. Yet those who stand in the station long enough report feeling a weight, a sensation of history pressing gently against the shoulders. There is a strange comfort in this eerie place. The lost travelers who haunt Frostwind Station do not seek to harm. Instead, they are reminders of the unforgiving nature of the mountain, and the resilience of those who venture into its frozen reaches. They appear, fade, and reappear, like echoes of a time long past, urging respect for the elements and for those who came before. Some nights, when the moon hangs low over the peaks, the station seems to glow from within. The snow reflects the dim light, casting long shadows across the lot. The figures within appear more solid, moving with a sense of purpose that is almost human. The flickering lights create shifting patterns on the walls, making it difficult to tell where the shadows end and the walls begin. Travelers describe an inexplicable stillness that falls over the station at times, as though the world outside has paused. Conversations grow hushed, footsteps careful, and even the wind seems to soften in these moments. Frostwind Station is at its most haunting and its most serene, a place suspended between the natural and the supernatural. As the hours pass, the temperature drops further. The cold is no longer just felt on the skin but in the very marrow. The whispers grow fainter, carried away by the rising wind. Shadows retreat with the flickering lights, and the figures dissolve into the quiet corners of the station, leaving only the echo of their presence. Eventually, travelers step back outside, the warmth of their vehicles a welcome relief. Yet, even as they drive away, the memory of Frostwind Station lingers. The chilling air, the silent observers, the shifting shadows of these experiences leave an impression that cannot be easily shaken. It is a place where the past is ever present, and where those who visit are forever reminded of the mountain's unforgiving beauty. Frostwind Station remains perched on the snowy road, quiet and watchful. It waits for the next traveler, offering shelter and a haunting glimpse into the lives lost on the mountain. It is a place where stories are not told in words but in presence, in shadows, and in the cold breath of the wind. And as the night deepens, one cannot help but wonder if those who froze on the mountain so long ago are truly gone, or if they remain here still, watching silently, waiting for the next visitor to understand the mountain's silent warning. Perched high on a jagged ridge, Thunder Peak Gas stands as a solitary outpost against the relentless mountain winds. The road leading here winds sharply, twisting through dense pine forests and rocky cliffs, where the sky seems to stretch endlessly. Travelers passing by often speak of a strange heaviness in the air, a sensation that the mountains themselves are watching. By day, the station appears ordinary enough, its pumps gleaming under the sun, the convenience store humming with the faint buzz of fluorescent lights. But as dusk falls and shadows deepen, the atmosphere changes. The wind carries more than just the scent of pine. There is a distant rumble, low and resonant, like the footsteps of something far larger than any human. Those who linger report hearing it grow closer, echoing across the asphalt in rhythms that seem almost deliberate. Shadows move along the walls in ways that defy natural light. Sometimes, they take on the shape of a figure, standing just beyond reach. Approach them and they vanish, leaving only the chill of the mountain air and a sudden tightening in the chest. Some say these shapes are travelers who never made it down the mountain, lost to storms that sweep through the ridges without warning. The gas pumps themselves tell stories of their own. On quiet nights, when the station is empty, they swing gently, as if someone invisible is filling their tank. It is never violent, never sudden, but it is persistent. A traveler standing nearby might feel a cold brush against their arm, a reminder that they are not truly alone on these mountain heights. Inside the store, the air grows dense with the weight of silence. Shelves creak faintly, and lights flicker as if the current is struggling to maintain itself. And then, there are the whispers. Soft, almost conversational, they call travelers by name. Sometimes it is a name spoken clearly, other times it is a name distorted, carried on the wind. Few can resist turning around, hoping to see a familiar face. But there is never anyone there. Locals speak of the storms that rage through Thunder Peak. Lightning strikes with terrifying precision, and snow or rain can appear out of nowhere. Those who sought refuge at the station during such storms often report feelings of unease, as though the spirits of the mountains themselves have joined them. Some recount glimpses of shadowed figures peering from behind the store windows, or walking along the roof in impossible silence. The station's history is entwined with tragedy. Over decades, countless travelers have perished in sudden blizzards or on treacherous roads. Legends tell of a passenger who lost control of their vehicle, never reaching the safety of the station, their presence lingering in the night. Another tale speaks of a lone hiker caught in a thunderstorm, whose echoing cries are said to still resonate among the peaks. These stories, passed from local to local, give shape to the unknown that inhabits Thunder Peak. Visitors often describe a sensation of being observed, though there is no one in sight. The hairs on the back of the neck rise, and a cold draft snakes around the legs. The rumble of footsteps continues, growing and fading, never quite settling. Some attempt to capture it on camera or audio, yet the results are always inconclusive. Flickers of light, sudden drops in temperature, or muffled sounds hint at an invisible presence. Each attempt seems to deepen the mystery rather than explain it. At night, the station glows dimly, the lights casting long shadows across the lot. The mountains loom over the horizon, dark and unyielding. Travelers report hearing soft laughter mingling with the wind, though it carries no malice, only a sense of remembrance. These are not spirits seeking harm, but echoes of lives interrupted, moments frozen on the peak. They linger, urging visitors to recognize their passage, their stories etched into the very stones of the mountain. Some who brave the night leave with a profound respect for the place. The chill, the sounds, the shadows all combine into a memory that is vivid and lasting. Others are too frightened to stay long, retreating to lower roads and warmer valleys. Yet whether they leave with fear or awe, each visitor carries a fragment of Thunder Peak's history. A reminder that some places are more than they appear. The station endures, standing solitary against the elements, a beacon and a warning. Travelers who arrive seeking fuel or shelter often depart carrying stories they cannot fully explain. The rumble of distant footsteps, the swinging pumps, the whispered nemesa, these are constant reminders that the mountains keep their own counsel. And in those quiet hours, when the wind is still and the sky hangs heavy, Thunder Peak gas reveals its true nature. As a place where the living brush against echoes of the past. Echo Ridge Station sits perched atop a lonely ridge, where the wind sweeps across the mountains and carries sounds far into the distance. By day, the station seems unremarkable, a simple stop for travelers to rest, refuel, or grab a quick snack. But as the sun sinks behind the peaks and shadows stretch across the asphalt, a subtle change fills the air. The ordinary becomes strange, and the familiar feels unsettling. Visitors to the station often notice the stillness first. Even when cars pass on the ridge road, their engines seem muffled. The sound absorbed by the surrounding cliffs. Inside, the aisles appear empty. Yet a faint murmur lingers, barely audible at first. Those who pause to listen report hearing voices echoing in repetition. A phrase said once seems to linger, repeating itself over and over. Bouncing off walls and shelves. As if the building itself remembers the words of those who once passed through. The glass doors of the station are reflective, and in the quiet hours, shapes can be seen within them. Figures appear suddenly, their outlines faint, shifting and flickering with the dim lights. When approached, they vanish, leaving behind only the sense of a presence that was never fully there. Some describe glimpsing a traveler frozen in mid-step, a coat fluttering as if caught in a breeze, only to dissolve when the observer moves closer. Visitors often report a chill brushing against their skin, a cold draft that has no visible source. Some feel it graze their shoulder or the back of their neck, fleeting but unmistakable. The mountain winds carry more than cold air at Echo Ridge Station. They seem to carry the remnants of those who never left the ridge, whose journeys ended here long ago. The station's interior is unassuming, yet the atmosphere grows heavier as night falls. Fluorescent lights hum softly, casting uneven pools of light that make shadows appear to stretch and twist along the walls. Shelves stand lined with snacks and drinks, yet they take on an almost surreal quality, as if the items themselves are watching. Patrons describe hearing whispers around corners, voices that trail off as they turn to look, leaving only the echo behind. Locals have long spoken of the ridge and the station with caution. Travelers unfamiliar with the road often feel a sense of disorientation when night descends. The voices in the station are believed to belong to lost souls, travelers who met misfortune in the surrounding mountains. Some became trapped in sudden storms, others lost their way in the winding paths of the ridge. Their spirits, it is said, linger, bound to the mountain winds and the place where their final journey ended. People passing through sometimes leave offerings without realizing it. A left-behind jacket. A small coin on the counter. Or a quiet word of remembrance seems to linger in the memory of the station. These small gestures, though unnoticed by most, are believed to comfort the spirits, though they remain restless. Travelers who experience the echoes often feel a mix of fear and fascination. Drawn to the station despite its unnerving energy. Echo Ridge Station has a way of testing perception. Time feels altered within its walls. A visit that seems brief can stretch, each echo and movement drawing attention to the passing moments. Some visitors find themselves retracing steps in the aisles, drawn by sounds that only they can hear. Others leave quickly, feeling the weight of unseen eyes and the brush of a cold presence urging them onward. Even in daylight, the ridge carries its quiet mystery. Hikers and motorists report hearing faint murmurs as the wind moves through the trees and rock formations. At night, the phenomenon intensifies, concentrating around the station itself. The voices are clear enough to be recognized, but faint enough to remain elusive, a persistent echo that cannot be caught or silenced. Over time, the stories surrounding Echo Ridge Station have accumulated into a rich tapestry of folklore. Each visitor adds a thread, a whispered account of a fleeting vision, a brush of cold air, or a repeated phrase that refuses to fade. The station stands as a waypoint between the living and the lingering, a place where the mountain holds memory as much as it does mist. Those who have ventured to the station speak of the experience with reverence and unease. Many feel a connection to the lost travelers, sensing their stories without ever knowing their names. The ridge seems alive with their presence, the echoes carrying hints of journeys cut short, of lives interrupted, and of moments suspended between the world of the living and the quiet eternity of the mountain winds. At Echo Ridge Station, the ordinary is never quite ordinary. The hum of fluorescent lights, the scent of gasoline, the subtle shift of shadowy, all these become part of an atmosphere that is both mesmerizing and haunting. Visitors leave with more than a receipt or a full tank of gas. They leave with an impression, a whisper in their memory, and a story that travels far beyond the ridge. The station remains, perched above the winding road, waiting for the next traveler to pause, to listen, and to feel the presence of those who never left. In the stillness of night, the echoes continue, repeating themselves through the aisles, across the counters, and in the glass doors. Across the counters, and in the glass doors, a lasting testament to journeys interrupted and spirits forever bound to the mountain winds. The ridge remains quiet now, but those who stop at the station can sense it. The wind carries a voice, the cold brushes against the skin, and the faintest outline flickers in the reflection. Echo Ridge Station is more than a rest stop. It is a threshold, a place where the living meet the echoes of the past. And the mountain keeps its secrets in the whisper of the wind. Nestled deep among towering pine trees, Ironwood Station sits quietly along a winding mountain road. By day, it seems like any other remote gas station, its pumps gleaming in the sunlight, the air carrying the scent of fresh pine and damp earth. But as night falls, the station takes on a presence that is difficult to ignore. The shadows lengthen and shift, moving independently of the lamps that struggle to illuminate the lot. Travelers who arrive after dark often speak of a heaviness in the air. A sensation that the forest itself is watching. They are faint, almost conversational, and yet unmistakably there. Some visitors swear they hear their own names called softly. At the pumps, strange figures sometimes appear for a brief moment. A traveler might glance up and see a shape standing near a pump, frozen in silence. When approached, the figure vanishes without a trace, leaving only the lingering chill of mountain air. Some claim to have felt the brush of cold hands along their shoulders, a touch that is fleeting and inexplicable. It is never threatening, but it leaves an impression that lingers long after the encounter. The convenience store adds its own layer to the mystery. Shelves seem to shift subtly, shadows pass across the walls without any source. And the lights flicker as if reluctant to remain on. Those inside the station sometimes feel a presence in the empty aisles, a quiet company. A quiet company that is unseen but undeniably near. Even when the station is empty, the sense of being watched persists, settling heavily. Settling heavily on anyone who lingers too long. Locals speak in hushed tones about the history of the area. The mountain wilderness surrounding Ironwood Station is treacherous, with narrow roads, steep cliffs, and sudden storms that can descend without warning. Their stories are carried in whispers, their echoes said to linger around the station, entwined with the pines and the mountain air. Some visitors report seeing fleeting glimpses of movement in the trees, or shadows that dart across the lot in ways that defy explanation. The wind sometimes carries faint cries or laughter, blending with the natural sounds of the forest in a way that makes it difficult to tell what is real. Even those who arrive with no expectation of the supernatural leave with an undeniable sense that something unseen has observed them. The pumps themselves seem almost alive in the quiet of night. On calm evenings, they sway slightly as if someone invisible is using them. Objects inside the store occasionally shift or rattle. And lights hum or flicker with no apparent cause. Those who attempt to capture these occurrences on camera often find that the recordings show only shadows and glimpses, never fully revealing the presence that has been felt. Despite the unease, Ironwood Station maintains a strange allure. The combination of isolation and mystery draws travelers seeking both adventure and refuge. The mountains and forests press close, creating a sense of being entirely removed from the ordinary world. Yet within this isolation, the station seems alive with stories, each shadow and whisper a reminder of lives interrupted and travelers who never returned. The spirits that linger here are thought to be those lost to the wilderness, caught between the world they knew and the mountain that claimed them. They are rarely malevolent, but their presence is persistent. They appear in fleeting forms, brush past in unseen ways, and make themselves known in whispers and subtle movements. For those who pay attention, the station becomes more than a stop along the road, it becomes a place of remembrance, a witness to both the beauty and danger of the surrounding wilderness. Visitors often leave Ironwood Station with a mixture of awe and unease. The chill in the air, the shifting shadows, and the soft calls of the unseen linger in memory long after the mountains fade from view. Some return to the road below quickly, eager to escape the weight of the presence, while others take their time, absorbing the strange serenity that exists alongside the mystery. Ironwood Station endures through the seasons, standing silently among the towering pines. Snow may blanket the lot in winter, and storms may batter the roof in summer. But the whispers, the shadows, and the lingering spirits remain. Where the line between the living and the lost feels thin. Where the mountain holds its stories close. And where travelers may catch only a fleeting glimpse of lives forever intertwined with the wilderness. Of lives forever intertwined with the wilderness. For those who venture to Ironwood Station after dark, the experience is unforgettable. Every footstep across the lot, every sway of a pump, and every whisper in the wind is a reminder that this is no ordinary place. The mountain keeps its secrets well, and the spirits of travelers past remain, waiting quietly among the trees, sharing the night with those who come seeking both shelter and the unknown. Bloodstone Mountain gas perches on a lonely stretch of road, high in the rugged peaks where the wind carries both chill and unease. By daylight, it appears as any ordinary station, its pumps gleaming, the small convenience store neat and orderly. Yet as shadows lengthen and evening falls, an unsettling atmosphere settles over the lot, thickening the air with a sense of something unseen. Travelers who venture here after dark often speak of an almost tangible tension in the silence. The surrounding forest sways gently with the mountain breeze, yet inside the station, sounds seem to take on a life of their own. Faint whispers float through the air, difficult to place, as if the mountain itself is speaking. Some swear they hear muffled screams echoing from the ridges, distant but hauntingly clear, carried down to the pumps by the restless winds. The station's windows and glass doors are reflective, and in their sheen, visitors report glimpsing figures. Silhouettes appear near the pumps, frozen in posture, their movements delayed or frozen entirely. When approached, the shapes vanish as if dissolved by the night air, leaving behind a sudden emptiness and a lingering sense of presence. The effect is fleeting yet unforgettable, a reminder that the ridge is not empty, even when no one is visible. An unusual scent often fills the air. Gasoline is stronger here than expected, sharp and penetrating, even when no fuel is flowing. Some describe it as clinging to their clothes and hair, a ghostly reminder of the mountain roads and the countless travelers who once passed through. The smell becomes intertwined with the other sensations, making the experience at the station feel unreal, suspended between the familiar and the unknown. Locals have long shared warnings about the area. Bloodstone Mountain has a reputation for its restless spirits. Travelers who vanished on the winding roads, unable to complete their journeys. They are said to roam these slopes eternally, tied to the station as if it were a waypoint between the world of the living and the quiet eternity of the mountain. Those who pass through at night sense the watchful eyes of those unseen. A subtle weight pressing on the senses, compelling attention to every movement, every echo. The interior of the station carries its own unsettling presence. Fluorescent lights hum steadily, casting uneven illumination across the shelves. Snacks and drinks sit in neat rows. Yet in the dim corners of the store, shadows stretch and shift unpredictably. Visitors have reported hearing soft footfalls along the aisles, only to find them empty moments later. The sounds feel close, intimate, as though someone is moving behind them, just out of reach. Outside, the ridge road curves sharply, a serpentine path that can disappear into mist at any moment. Travelers speak of sudden disorientation while driving, a sense that the road has shifted or lengthened. Some feel as though they are being guided, or watched, by the lingering spirits that cling to the mountain. The echoes of those lost resonate in the gusts of wind, and the faintest hints of their presence can be felt in the chill against the skin, the brushing of air where nothing passes. Stories from previous visitors add to the station's mysterious allure. One describes stepping out to check the pumps and seeing a figure standing still, framed against the night sky, its posture stiff and unnatural. Another recalls entering the store, hearing a whisper in a voice that seemed familiar yet could not be traced, fading as they moved through the aisles. Each account reinforces the sense that Bloodstone Mountain Gas is a place suspended between reality and the echoes of the past. Even in the quiet of early morning, the station retains a subtle unease. The mountain fog lingers, softening edges and muting sounds, making the station appear isolated and distant. Every so often, the scent of gasoline mingles with the crisp mountain air. A reminder that the ridge is alive with memories and presence, waiting silently for the next traveler to arrive. The stories and experiences here have become a part of local lore, shared quietly over campfires and in small-town gatherings. Bloodstone Mountain Gas is more than a refueling point. It is a threshold, a place where the living and the lingering meet. Those who stop here often leave with more than fuel or a snack. They leave with an impression of the mountain's restless energy, and the weight of countless journeys that ended too soon. At night, the wind carries the whispers further down the slopes, brushing against every visitor who lingers. Figures continue to appear and vanish at the pumps, the air carries its unusual scent. And the mountain keeps watch in silence. Bloodstone Mountain Gas remains, a haunting reminder of lives interrupted and spirits bound to the road forever, waiting for travelers to witness the echoes of what came before. Even after leaving, the memory lingers. The sensation of unseen presence, the cold brush of air, and the repeated whispers, and the glimpse of shadowed figures, become etched into the mind. Bloodstone Mountain Gas is a place that marks those who visit. A location where the past and the present coexist, and where the restless mountain winds carry stories that never fade. Ravencrest Station stands in a remote stretch of winding mountain road, where the air grows colder and the trees denser as the sun dips below the horizon. Its weathered pumps glint faintly under the pale light of the moon, and the faint hum of electricity seems almost alive, vibrating through the ground beneath travelers' feet. Many who pass by describe a strange heaviness in the air, a sensation that the station itself is aware of their presence. Shadows gather near the pumps, forming vague shapes of people. They linger for moments before dissolving into the darkness, leaving travelers questioning if they truly saw them at all. On some nights, ghostly vehicles appear as if fueled by unseen hands, their engines silent, their forms transparent against the backdrop of the misty forest. Drivers who stop to watch report seeing their tanks fill slowly, the pumps moving as though invisible figures are inside, only for the cars to vanish once attention turns elsewhere. The forest behind Ravencrest Station is thick and nearly impenetrable. Whispers carry through the trees, soft and unintelligible, yet impossible to ignore. They rise and fall with the wind, brushing past visitors like a cold finger tracing the spine. Those who have lingered too long claim that the voices call them closer, drawing attention to the shadows dancing at the edge of their vision. The sensation of being watched never fully fades, even when the lights of the station are close at hand. Inside the convenience store, reflections on the glass reveal figures that are not truly there. A driver pumping gas might catch sight of a man standing silently behind them, only to find the space empty when they turn. Mirrors and windows seem to betray the ordinary, offering glimpses of the impossible. These silent watchers do not speak, do not move, yet their presence is undeniable. Locals tell stories of drivers who never made it through the treacherous mountain roads. Ravencrest Station, they say, is a waypoint for those lost souls, a place where the line between the living and the dead grows thin. Accidents were common here for decades, cars sliding off the icy curves, vanishing into the cliffs below. Some say the spirits of these travelers remain bound to the mountain, wandering near the pumps, unable to leave the place where their journeys ended. Travelers who arrive after dark report an overwhelming sense of isolation. The hum of the pumps, the flicker of the lights, and the distant call of wildlife create a tension that feels alive. The air seems thicker, as if each breath draws in more than oxygen. It carries the weight of the past, the sorrow of those who never reached their destination. And a subtle warning that the mountain does not forgive mistakes. Some nights, the station appears almost normal, but subtle anomalies hint at the otherworldly. A pump may operate on its own, a shadow crosses the lot where no one stands, or a reflection lingers longer than it should. These moments are fleeting, but their impact is lasting. Witnesses describe a sense of time stretching, where a minute feels like an hour, and the boundary between the physical and the spectral blurs. Witnesses describe a sense of time stretching, where a minute feels like an hour, and the boundary between the physical and the spectral blurs. Witnesses describe a sense of time stretching, where a minute feels like an hour, and the boundary between the physical and the spectral blurs. Witnesses describe a sense of time stretching, where a minute feels like an hour, and the boundary between the physical and the spectral blurs. Visitors often speak of a coldness that has nothing to do with the weather. It is a creeping chill that rises from the ground and settles around the body, seeping into clothes and skin. It is accompanied by a feeling of being followed, even when the lot is empty, and the darkness beyond the station seems to pulse with life. Many feel compelled to leave quickly, unable to shake the sense that eyes remain fixed on them long after they have departed. The stories of Ravencrest Station are varied, yet share a common thread. All describe a place where the ordinary and the supernatural intersect. Where travelers encounter remnants of lives interrupted by misfortune and mountain peril. There is a rhythm to the hauntings, a pattern that suggests not chaos, but a lingering presence that remembers each car, each person, each moment of tragedy. Despite the fear it evokes, the station continues to draw attention. Some are drawn by curiosity, others by necessity. And a few by a deep fascination with the unknown. Each arrival becomes part of the station's living history. Adding to the collection of tales that swirl around its pumps, inside its store. And within the shadows of the surrounding forest. Ravencrest Station remains a sentinel of the mountain roads. The night carries the voices of the lost, the shimmer of ghostly figures, and the subtle reminders that some journeys are never truly complete. Those who pass by after dark leave with more than just fuel in their tanks, they carry a story, a lingering chill, and the unsettling knowledge that the mountain holds secrets that even time cannot erase. The allure of Ravencrest Station lies not just in the fear it inspires, but in the mystery it preserves. Every shadow, every whisper, and every fleeting figure adds to the sense of a world parallel to our own. Where the past lingers, and the lost find a way to remain near the living. Travelers who pause to watch and listen may never forget the sensation of being observed. Of sharing a space with those who traverse the mountain forever. At Ravencrest Station, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. And the night is never silent. Each visit offers a brush with the unseen. A reminder that some roads are haunted not by memory alone, but by the spirits of those who never reached their destination. In the stillness of the mountain, the shadows gather, and the station waits for the next traveler to pass through its ethereal reach. Here, among the pumps and the trees, the line between life and the afterlife remains fragile, inviting, and hauntingly real. Those who stop to refuel may leave with a full tank of gas. But they will always carry a touch of the station's shadows with them. Wherever the road leads next. Misty Hollow gas stop sits tucked into a secluded bend of a mountain road, where the pumps are lined neatly and the convenience store glows softly under fluorescent lights. Yet as dusk falls, the mist thickens, curling around the building and transforming it into something otherworldly, a place suspended between the natural and the uncanny. Travelers who arrive after dark often speak of the silence first. The usual hum of traffic fades against the dense fog, leaving only the sound of distant wind moving through the surrounding trees. Within the station, the quiet is broken by whispers that seem to drift from nowhere, brushing against the ears and vanishing before their source can be found. Footsteps echo across the asphalt and inside the aisles, yet when followed, they leave no trace, no footprints, only the lingering impression of movement. The mist itself seems alive, shifting and curling in unpredictable patterns. Figures have been reported moving through the fog, their outlines barely visible, appearing to glide rather than walk. They vanish when approached, leaving behind only the sense that someone, or something, has passed nearby. The station becomes a place where perception is challenged, and the boundary between the living and the unseen feels impossibly thin. Inside the convenience store, the atmosphere carries a similar unease. Shelves stand stocked and orderly, yet shadows stretch and shift along the walls, moving independently of the dim lighting. Patrons report seeing figures pass through the aisles, moving silently and without leaving any evidence of their presence. Some catch glimpses of fleeting reflections in the glass of the cooler doors, only to find empty space when they turn to look directly. The store seems to exist in a state of perpetual half-light, as if caught between day and night, reality and something else. The night air around Misty Hollow gas stop is heavy, carrying the scent of damp earth and distant pines. Every gust of wind seems purposeful, as though it carries messages from another time. Travelers often report a sensation of being watched, the weight of unseen eyes tracking every movement. The mist amplifies these feelings, turning ordinary sounds into something more ominous. The hum of a flickering fluorescent light, or the subtle shift of a shadow can feel like a presence moving nearby. Locals have long shared tales of the misty mountains and the station that rests within them. Stories speak of travelers who became lost in the fog, their paths swallowed by the shifting veil. Whispers and fleeting figures are believed to be these lost souls, bound to the area by unfinished journeys and unsettled moments. Those who venture to the station at night are said to witness echoes of their passing. Subtle yet persistent reminders that the ridge holds memories of those who never returned. The ridge holds memories of those who never returned. The whispers and fleeting figures are believed to be these lost souls. Locals have long shared tales of the misty mountains and the station that rests within them. Even when the station is empty, the air seems charged with energy. Patrons describe the feeling of being followed, not by a tangible presence, but by the essence of something unseen. Footsteps trail just behind, whispers curl around corners. And the mist outside forms shapes that dissolve the moment they are closely examined. Time itself seems to stretch within this fog-bound location. Moments lingering longer than they should. Each shadow and echo magnifying the sensation of isolation. The convenience store's interior mirrors the station's exterior in its subtle strangeness. Items on the shelves are untouched, yet they seem to react to the presence of visitors. Lights flicker in sequences that appear almost deliberate, shadows stretch unnaturally, and the faintest brush of cold air passes over skin without a source. Some visitors swear they hear murmured warnings, soft and unintelligible, carried along the drafts that slip through the corners of the building. Each sound, each movement, contributes to the impression that Misty Hollow gas stop exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously, a threshold between the ordinary and the spectral. Travelers have recounted moments of disorientation as they leave the station. The fog clings to the mountain roads, obscuring curves and dips that should be familiar. And the sense of being followed lingers long after they have driven away. Some describe catching glimpses of figures standing at the edge of the mist, watching silently before dissolving into the gray. The mountain seems to hold on to every step, every voice, and every presence, preserving them in the dense fog that blankets the region. Over time, the stories and experiences surrounding Misty Hollow Gas Stop have grown into a web of local lore. Visitors share tales of fleeting figures, disappearing footsteps, and whispers that carry through the mist. Each encounter adds to the legend, making the station a place of curiosity and caution. Despite the unease, many feel drawn to the location, compelled to witness the ethereal beauty and chilling mystery that define the ridge. Misty Hollow Gas Stop stands as more than a mere waypoint for travelers. It is a place where the natural world and the unseen intertwine. Where the mountain mist preserves echoes of the past. Figures glide through the store, footsteps vanish without a trace. And whispers linger in the air, a constant reminder of those who became lost to the fog. The station exists in quiet tension. A sentinel on the misty ridge. Offering both shelter and a glimpse into the unknown. Even after leaving, the experience remains. The weight of unseen eyes. The brush of phantom movement. And the lingering whispers of the mist. Carve themselves into memory. Misty Hollow Gas Stop is a place where the ordinary and the extraordinary coexist. Where travelers can feel the presence of those lost in the mountains. And where the fog ensures that the station's secrets remain just beyond reach. Ethereal and ever-present. Nestled deep within the folds of a remote mountain range, Whispering Pine Station sits quietly under the night sky, its flickering lights barely cutting through the thick shadows of towering pines. The road leading to it winds sharply, lined with ancient trees that sway and whisper in the wind, as if carrying secrets from decades long past. Travelers often find themselves slowing down as the mist rolls in, thick and clinging, obscuring the edges of the path and making every turn feel uncertain. The station itself seems ordinary at first glance. A single-store convenience store flanked by a few gas pumps. And a dimly lit parking lot. Yet, those who linger after dark speak of a presence that feels anything but ordinary. The air grows heavier with every step, charged with an unseen energy that makes the hairs on the back of the neck rise. Whispers drift through the night, faint at first, carrying names spoken softly, as though calling travelers closer. Inside the store, shadows behave in ways that defy reason. They stretch along walls, bend around corners, and sometimes take the shapes of figures that seem almost human. Some visitors report seeing pale faces reflected in glass surfaces, staring for a moment before dissolving into nothingness when approached. The sensation of being watched is constant, subtle at first, then impossible to ignore. Even the pumps themselves seem to have a life of their own. Vehicles that remain stationary sometimes find the pumps activated. Hoses moving slightly as if handled by unseen hands. It is as though the station remembers the people who once traveled through these mountains. And longs to recreate their presence. The machines hum softly, almost like a whisper, blending seamlessly with the sounds of the night. Locals speak cautiously of the spirits said to inhabit the area. They are believed to be travelers who never left the mountain alive, caught in sudden storms, lost on the twisting roads, or claimed by the treacherous terrain. Some are said to linger, replaying their final journeys, appearing only to those who wander close enough to sense the edges of the past brushing against the present. The night air carries a chill that seems to seep into the bones, sharp but not unpleasant, a reminder that this place exists in a world between the living and the lost. Shadows move just beyond the light of the store, weaving among the trees and creeping along the edges of the asphalt. Some visitors swear they have felt a brush of cold against their shoulder, a fleeting touch that vanishes the moment they turn. Sounds are never quite as they seem. The crunch of tires on gravel. The faint rustle of branches. The creak of a pump lever. All become part of a layered symphony that is at once ordinary and unnervingly strange. The interior of the convenience store is equally enigmatic. Shelves lined with snacks and drinks appear unchanged, yet something about the space feels suspended in time. Patrons who have stayed late often speak of the sensation of being followed, glimpses of movement in the corner of the eye, and objects seeming to shift slightly when unobserved. Even the lighting plays a role in the station's mysterious atmosphere. Bulbs flicker unpredictably, casting long, wavering shadows across the walls. Each flicker seems to bring fleeting glimpses of shapes, fleeting memories of travelers long vanished, appearing only to dissolve again into darkness. The combination of mist, shadow, and the faint hum of the pumps creates a sensation of being caught between worlds. The mountain itself seems to watch over the station. Its slopes are steep and unforgiving, a labyrinth of trees and rocks that have claimed many who underestimated its dangers. Snow, fog, and sudden storms can appear without warning, isolating the station and anyone who might stop there. In these moments, the boundary between the ordinary and the paranormal feels impossibly thin, and the whispers grow louder, more insistent. Stories from those who have spent time at Whispering Pines Station are varied but share a common thread. Some claim to have seen figures silently moving through the parking lot, only to vanish when approached. Others speak of hearing their own names called in the wind, voices that are soft but unmistakably real. Some have reported the feeling of unseen hands guiding them toward a pump, or a sudden draft brushing against their back without explanation. Stories from those who have spent time at Whispering Pines Station are varied but share a common thread. The station has become a quiet monument to the mountain's secrets. Travelers pass through, unaware of the lives that ended here, while the spirits linger, patient and watchful. The whispers, shadows, and fleeting faces serve as reminders that some journeys never truly end. Despite the eerie atmosphere, there is an undeniable beauty to the place. Whispering Pines Station is more than a stop along a mountain road. It is a threshold, a point where the present brushes against the past, where travelers and spirits coexist in fleeting, fragile moments. Each whisper, each shadow, each inexplicable flicker tells a story of lives interrupted, journeys halted, and the lingering echoes of those who never left. Visitors leave with stories of the night, stories that carry the sense of mystery and the intangible presence that defines the station. Some return, drawn by curiosity or the hope of glimpsing what lies just beyond ordinary perception. Others leave quietly, changed in subtle ways, carrying a reminder that the mountain keeps its own counsel, and some spirits never rest. As the night deepens and the mountains settle into silence, Whispering Pines Station stands patiently. Its lights dim, its shadows still, waiting for the next traveler to hear the whispers. See the fleeting faces, and feel the presence that lingers where the living and the lost meet. The mountain road narrows as it winds higher, flanked by jagged rocks and towering pines. During the day, drivers navigate the curves with caution, mindful of sheer drops and hidden turns. By night, the same path takes on an eerie quality, shadows stretching unnaturally across the asphalt, and a silence that seems heavier than the darkness itself. Halfway along this treacherous pass sits a small gas station, a lone beacon of light against the vast, mountainous black. A lone beacon of light against the vast, mountainous black. Shadow Peak Gas has long been a haven for travelers in need of fuel or a brief reprieve. Yet, those who venture here after dusk often speak of sensations that cannot be explained, and of presences that linger long after the pumps have stopped humming. Inside the station, the air feels cooler than outside, and the lights flicker at irregular intervals. Some visitors report hearing footsteps echoing across the empty aisles, the sound rising and falling as if someone were pacing just out of sight. A sudden whisper might brush past the ear, Too faint to make out words, yet enough to raise goosebumps along the spine. Outside, shadows seem to gather at the pumps. Figures appear briefly, outlines of travelers frozen in place for just a moment, before vanishing into thin air. Some say it is the reflection of those who perished on the winding road, their journeys cut tragically short by sharp curves or unseen obstacles. Drivers who stop to refuel sometimes feel a light touch on their shoulder or a gentle guide by their side, though no one stands there. The sensation is fleeting but unmistakable, like a presence offering reassurance or warning. Many who experience it leave with a mix of fear and awe, unsure whether to consider it a protective gesture or a reminder of the road's dangers. The convenience store offers an unsettling kind of calm. Shelves are neatly stocked, yet the faint scent of pine and cold mountain air drifts through the open door. Occasionally, a shadow glides past a window, a pale shape reflected in the glass for a heartbeat before disappearing. Some visitors swear they catch glimpses of faces in the reflection, eyes watching silently, only to find nothing when they turn to look directly. Local stories have grown over decades, each adding to the station's reputation. Travelers lost their lives navigating the narrow pass. And it is said their spirits linger, unable to move on. People speak of sudden chills, items slightly moved. Or the feeling of being watched even in an empty parking lot. The station seems to exist in two worlds at once. A place where the living and the departed brush shoulders under the pale glow of streetlights. Nightfall brings a deep quiet that amplifies every sound. The wind whistles down the mountainside, carrying with it whispers that might be warnings, memories, or fragments of conversation from long ago. Headlights from passing cars cast fleeting beams across the pumps, and for a moment, shapes appear that vanish before a second glance can confirm them. Each moment feels suspended in time, a delicate balance between the ordinary and the uncanny. Travelers who spend hours at the station describe a strange rhythm to their experience. They might hear the distant echo of a car engine, or the soft creak of the door as if someone entered the store, yet the aisles remain empty. Some have felt invisible hands adjusting a gas cap or nudging a shopping cart, subtle gestures that leave them questioning reality. It is an unsettling feeling, the kind that lingers in the mind long after leaving Shadow Peak Gas behind. Despite the eerie phenomena, the station continues to operate. Attendants who work night shifts report being accustomed to the strange occurrences, though they rarely speak of them in detail. For them, the presence is almost routine, a reminder of the mountain's history. And the travelers who came before. It has become part of the station's identity, a haunting quietly acknowledged rather than feared outright. The surrounding landscape reinforces the sense of isolation. Steep cliffs rise on one side, while the other drops sharply into mist-filled valleys. The road curves unpredictably, leaving little room for error. And at night, the terrain takes on an almost supernatural appearance. Fog often settles in the pass, thick and cold, obscuring vision and heightening the sensation that Shadow Peak Gas is a place where the natural and the supernatural coexist. Some visitors arrive seeking a thrill, others by necessity, yet all leave carrying a story. A fleeting shadow, a whisper carried on the wind, or a cold touch on the arm becomes part of their journey, lingering in memory like an unspoken question. The station is more than a stop for fuel, it is a gateway to the mountain's hidden history, a place where the past never fully fades. And where travelers and spirits intersect in silent, mysterious ways. The station is a place where the past never fully fades, and where travelers and spirits intersect in silent, mysterious ways. The night continues, with shadows moving, whispers lingering, and figures appearing only to vanish. The mountain pass remains as dangerous as ever, yet those who stop at Shadow Peak Gas know they are not entirely alone. The spirits of the road watch, guide, and sometimes warn, a spectral presence woven into the fabric of the station and the surrounding wilderness. As dawn approaches, the air lightens and the shadows retreat, leaving the station in quiet anticipation of the next nightfall. Travelers who return in daylight often speak of the Mountaina's beauty, unaware of the haunting that reclaims the pass as darkness falls once more. Shadow Peak gas remains, a testament to the stories of those who travel too far, too fast, and a place where the unknown patiently waits for the next visitor to pass through. High on a lonely stretch of Blackthorn Mountain, a gas station stands quietly, almost forgotten by time. Its weathered sign creaks in the wind, and the dim lights flicker against the dark silhouettes of towering pines. The road leading up to it winds sharply, disappearing into shadows where the fog seems to linger long after sunset. Travelers passing through speak of an unsettling stillness that blankets the area, a feeling that something unseen is watching, waiting. Many who stop here speak first of the sounds. The soft crunch of footsteps behind them while they fill their tank is unmistakable. But when they turn, no one is there. The pavement is empty, the night air undisturbed, yet the sound persists. It is as if the mountain itself carries echoes of travelers who once journeyed these treacherous roads and never returned. Inside the convenience store, the lights cast uneven shadows along the walls and floors. Shapes seem to glide across the room, moving just beyond the corner of the eye. Some visitors swear they catch glimpses of figures in the mirrors, pale and hollow-eyed, staring silently. The reflection seems to hold them for a fraction of a second longer than reality allows, a reminder that the spirits of Blackthorn Mountain are never far from view. Locals tell stories of drivers who underestimated the sharp curves and sudden drops along this remote route. They speak of those who vanished in the mist, their fate sealed by icy conditions, slick asphalt, or the sheer remoteness of the peaks. Many say that the gas station has become a kind of crossroads, where the living brush shoulders with the lost. It is a place where whispers ride the wind, where the air carries a chill that no jacket can fully guard against. Visitors who stop after nightfall often describe an intense feeling of unease as soon as they step out of their vehicles. The sound of the mountain wind through the pines can suddenly seem like whispers, shifting from one wordless syllable to another. Even the soft hum of the gas pumps feels alive, vibrating as if in response to the presence that lingers. Some travelers report that the shadows inside the store move independently of any light source. A shelf of snacks might seem to stretch, elongate, or tilt slightly before settling back in place. The reflection in a freezer door can reveal a figure standing behind the visitor, even when the aisle itself is empty. Patrons speak of turning quickly, only to find the space vacant, and yet, the feeling of being observed lingers long after they leave. Occasionally, a figure will appear at the pumps outside, a pale outline standing silently under the cold glow of a single flickering lamp. These shapes do not move toward anyone, nor do they speak, but their presence is undeniable. When drivers glance away and back again, the figure has vanished, leaving behind only the mist rolling over the asphalt and the faint scent of damp earth. It is as though the mountain itself holds these souls in quiet suspension, caught between the living world and the memory of what once was. The station seems particularly active during the hours just after midnight. This is when the mountain is at its quietest, when the fog thickens and the forest shadows stretch long across the road. Drivers stopping at this hour often describe a sudden drop in temperature, a sensation of breath forming in the air even in the absence of cold weather. Some have felt light brushes against their shoulders, gentle enough not to alarm at first, until they realize that they are completely alone. There is a peculiar stillness around Blackthorn Mountain gas stop that is difficult to explain. A rustling sound in the distance might mimic footsteps. A door creaking might suggest someone entering the store, yet the building remains empty. It is as if the station itself is a stage. And the spirits are performing silently, replaying fragments of their last moments for anyone who dares to witness them. Long-time residents of the area speak of a strange respect for this place. They warn newcomers to move quietly and keep their presence calm. The mountain does not respond well to disruption. Loud voices or hurried movements are said to stir the shadows. And some who have ignored this advice report seeing figures suddenly appear near their vehicles, only to vanish the instant they attempt to approach. Despite its eerie reputation, Blackthorn Mountain gas stop continues to welcome travelers. The pump lights remain on, a solitary beacon along the winding road, drawing those who seek fuel, shelter, or perhaps a glimpse of the unexplained. It is a place where the ordinary meets the supernatural, where every shadow and whisper hints at stories left untold, at lives interrupted by the treacherous beauty of the mountain. For those who drive the winding roads of Blackthorn Mountain, the station serves as both a rest stop and a reminder of the road's hidden dangers. It is a place that asks no questions and offers no answers. Only the quiet presence of those who never made it home. Travelers leave with stories, a lingering chill, and the certainty that this mountain holds more than just mist and pine. Blackthorn Mountain gas stop stands in solitude, a witness to countless journeys, both finished and forever suspended. Each visitor leaves a little more aware of the unseen, a little more attuned to the whispers of the wind, and perhaps a little more cautious when traveling the dark, winding roads that cradle the mountain's secrets. It is a place of quiet reflection, of stories etched into the night, and of spirits that wander endlessly, waiting for the next traveler to join the silent chorus. Perched high above a frozen valley, Frost Hollow Station sits in a world of icy stillness, where the wind cuts through the air like a whisper, and the landscape below is painted in shades of white and gray. The station seems almost suspended between reality and legend. A place where the mountains hold secrets that few dare to uncover. Visitors often arrive late in the evening, drawn by the isolation or merely by necessity. The road leading to the station winds through jagged cliffs and frozen streams. And even the most confident drivers find themselves slowing down, sensing the weight of the valley pressing in from all sides. There is a peculiar hush here, a silence that stretches beyond the absence of sound. Inside the station, shadows twist along the walls, moving in ways that do not align with the flickering fluorescent lights above. The hum of the heaters sometimes falters, and lights blink as if acknowledging an unseen presence. Whispers drift through the convenience store, soft voices that seem to come from every corner at once. Some say they hear faint laughter, delicate and distant, as if the sounds belong to people long gone. It is never threatening, but it is impossible to ignore, tugging at the edge of awareness and leaving an uneasy curiosity in its wake. Figures appear in the windows, often in the peripheral vision of those standing near the pumps. They are pale, shadowed, hollow-eyed, and vanish the moment anyone turns to look directly at them. The effect is subtle but persistent, creating the impression that the station is alive with memories, shadows of travelers who never left the valley. Locals have their own stories about Frost Hollow Station. They speak of travelers trapped by sudden blizzards, their vehicles swallowed by the snow as the wind howled through the peaks. Some disappeared entirely, leaving behind only footprints that led to nowhere. The station, they say, became a quiet witness to these events, absorbing the echoes of those lost in the icy expanse. On particularly still nights, the valley seems to exhale. The wind drops, and the only sound is the soft crunch of snow underfoot, or the distant groan of ice shifting on frozen rivers. In those moments, visitors feel the weight of the past, a pressing awareness of the lives that linger between frost and shadow. The air inside the station grows heavy as night deepens, carrying the faint scent of pine and wood smoke, a reminder that warmth and danger exist side by side in this frozen world. Drivers have recounted leaving the station to continue their journey, only to glance back and see headlights illuminating empty snowdrifts where figures had stood moments before. Some swear they feel invisible hands guiding them to safety, or brushing past in acknowledgement of their presence. It is a strange, haunting intimacy, a connection between the living and those suspended in the valley long ago. Despite the eerie sensations, many find themselves returning. Many find themselves returning, drawn by curiosity and the station's haunting beauty. There is a quiet respect in the way visitors move, an unspoken agreement to tread lightly. Among memories that have no voice but leave a lasting impression. The cold, the shadows, and the whispers form a tapestry of experiences that linger long after leaving Frost Hollow Station. The valley below is frozen in time, a vast expanse of white interrupted only by the jagged cliffs and dark forests that frame the station. From above, the world seems endless, and the isolation becomes palpable. Each gust of wind carries stories from the past, blending sorrow and wonder, caution and fascination. It is a place that teaches stillness and attention, rewarding those who watch, listen, and feel the pulse of the mountain. Frost Hollow Station is more than a stop along a remote road. It is a threshold between the known and the unseen, where travelers encounter echoes of those who never left the valley. The air vibrates with presence, subtle and persistent, urging every visitor to acknowledge the lives that brush the edges of this frozen world. As dawn approaches, shadows recede, and whispers fade with the morning light. Yet the memory of the night remains, etched in the mind like frost patterns on glass. Travelers leave with a mixture of awe and unease, carrying the sensation that the valley, the station, and its unseen inhabitants are watching still. Frost Hollow Station endures, perched above the frozen expanse, a quiet guardian of the lost, a place where stories linger like mist over the valley, waiting to be discovered by those who dare to arrive. Iron Peak Station rests high in the mountains, perched on a narrow ridge where the road twists sharply between jagged cliffs. The station is small, with a dimly lit convenience store and a few scattered gas pumps, yet it carries a reputation that draws curiosity and caution in equal measure. Travelers speak of an uneasy feeling that settles the moment they approach, as though the air itself holds its breath in anticipation. At night, the station takes on a different character entirely. Visitors often report doors opening and closing on their own, swinging with a quiet persistence that seems almost intentional. The sound echoes through the empty lot, a rhythm that matches the faint rustle of the wind through the pines. Every movement is heightened, every shadow more pronounced, creating the sense that the station is alive in ways unseen. Inside the store, shadows flit across aisles and counters in patterns that defy explanation. Those who linger feel the sensation of being observed, a subtle awareness that they are not alone. Some report catching glimpses of pale faces in reflective surfaces, eyes that stare for a heartbeat before vanishing into nothing. The pumps outside display equally strange behavior. Hoses jolt and shift as if grasped by invisible hands. Some visitors swear they have seen the displays flicker, reading numbers that do not correspond to any vehicle present. The sensation is unnerving, the air thick with the unspoken presence of forces unseen, lingering just beyond the edge of perception. Whispers are a constant companion at Iron Peak Station. They ride the mountain wind, carrying names, warnings, and fragmented sentences that are never entirely clear. The voices are soft, yet unmistakably real, drifting through the lot and across the roof of the convenience store. They are not malevolent, but they command attention, insisting that the traveler notice the unseen and respect the hidden stories of this place. Some believe the spirits inhabiting Iron Peak Station are travelers trapped in the peaks for eternity. Those who ventured too far in storms, became lost along the twisting mountain roads, or encountered sudden avalanches are said to remain here, lingering in a space between life and memory. They appear at times to guide, to warn, or to simply remind visitors that the mountains hold their own rules, and those who ignore them may never return. The night brings a particular clarity to the station. Moonlight spills across the pavement, illuminating mist that curls around the pumps and creeps along the edges of the forest. Shadows stretch unnaturally long, merging with the darkness of the mountains and creating shapes that suggest movement where there is none. Even the smallest sounds take on significance, from the clatter of a can in the store to the distant howl of wind, blending into a symphony of presence that is impossible to ignore. Inside, the store feels suspended between moments. Shelves remain stocked with snacks and drinks. But the ordinary is constantly interrupted by the extraordinary. Objects seem to shift when unobserved, a chair angled differently, a box moved slightly, as though the station itself is aware of the movements of its guests. Visitors report a sense of tension, an almost imperceptible pressure that grows with every minute spent in the aisles. Outside, the terrain contributes to the mystery. The mountain is steep and unforgiving, a landscape of sheer cliffs, hidden ravines, and dense forests that swallow sound and light. Storms can appear without warning, wrapping the station in snow, fog, or a sudden downpour that isolates it completely. In these moments, the boundary between the natural and the supernatural feels impossibly thin, and the whispers grow louder, more insistent, more urgent. The lighting of the station is itself part of the enigma. Fluorescent bulbs flicker unpredictably, casting long, wavering shadows that seem to animate the store and pumps. Every flicker offers glimpses of something just beyond comprehension. Fleeting shapes that vanish before recognition. The combination of mist, shadow, and soft mechanical hums creates a sensation of being caught in a space both familiar and disquietingly foreign. Visitors have shared countless experiences, each unique yet woven together by a common thread of the uncanny. Some describe figures appearing silently in the lot, only to dissolve when approached. Others hear names called in the wind, voices that are unmistakably human, yet impossible to locate. A few have felt a cold touch along their shoulder or a subtle brush of movement in the periphery of vision, fleeting yet deeply affecting. Iron Peak Station is more than a way station along a mountain road. It is a threshold, a place where time, memory, and the unknown converge. Every flicker, every whisper, every shadow tells a story, a reminder of lives interrupted, journeys halted, and the presence of those who never left. Despite the eerie undertones, there is an undeniable beauty to the station. Moonlight glimmers across mist-laden asphalt, shadows dance among the pines. And the glow from the store windows creates a scene both haunting and mesmerizing. It is a place where the natural world and the supernatural intersect. Where travelers can witness a story unfolding quietly around them. If only they pay attention. As night deepens, the mountains settle into silence, and Iron Peak Station waits patiently. Its pumps lie still, its doors swing gently in the breeze. And shadows hold their forms just beyond sight. The whispers continue, calling, warning, observing. The spirits of the peaks remain, ever watchful. A presence felt by those who stop, pause, and look closely enough to see the world. Where the living meet the lost. Each visitor leaves carrying more than fuel or snacks. They leave with the awareness of a place that defies ordinary understanding. A mountain station that is alive in ways unseen. And a story that lingers long after the road winds away, out of sight, and back into the quiet of the peaks. Nestled high among snow-laden peaks, Winterfall Gas Stop rests quietly along a winding mountain road. During the day, sunlight glints off icy slopes and glimmers across frost-covered pine trees, giving the station a serene, almost postcard-perfect appearance. Yet as night falls, the stillness deepens, and an atmosphere takes hold that is both beautiful and unsettling. The air grows heavier with each passing hour, carrying a crisp chill that seeps into clothing and skin. Inside the small convenience store, the fluorescent lights hum softly, illuminating shelves lined with snacks and essentials, yet the space feels strangely hollow. Travelers who enter late often sense a presence, a subtle awareness that they are not entirely alone. Figures have been seen moving behind counters and along aisles, but when approached, they vanish as if swallowed by the very walls. Their movements are deliberate yet fleeting, a silent dance of shadows that leaves no trace. Some visitors catch glimpses in reflective surfaces, only to find the space empty when they turn, creating a disorienting and eerie sensation that lingers long after leaving the station. Outside, the snow blankets the ground in thick white layers, muffling sounds and isolating the station from the surrounding wilderness. The wind whistles across the peaks, carrying whispers that seem almost human in quality. Words are indistinct, fragments of conversation or distant calls, yet the effect is unmistakable, drawing attention and curiosity in equal measure. Travelers often recount sudden cold touches on their shoulders, fleeting and impossible to attribute to anyone else. It is a gentle sensation, more startling than painful, but enough to make the heart quicken and the mind question what is real. Some consider it a warning, others a guiding presence, but all agree that the feeling is deeply personal, impossible to ignore. Winterfall Gas Stop has long been a place of refuge for those traveling treacherous mountain passes. Snowstorms can descend without warning, leaving roads slick and perilous. The station, with its small heater and glowing lights, offers warmth and safety. Yet the sense of history in the building hints at tragedies that occurred long before modern travelers arrived. Locals speak of lives lost to sudden winter storms, of travelers stranded and unable to continue. The spirits of these unfortunate souls are said to linger around the station, drawn to the warmth and light in the darkness. Some nights, their presence is subtle, a fleeting shadow or whisper carried on the wind. On others, it is more pronounced, a tangible feeling of being watched or accompanied. Inside, the store seems to pulse with quiet energy. Items on shelves remain still, yet the mind perceives movement in the corners of vision. Footsteps echo softly on the tile floor, yet when turned toward, the source is gone. The lights occasionally flicker, not from electrical issues but as if responding to the presence that inhabits the space. Even the faint hum of the refrigeration unit seems to carry a rhythm, syncing with the quiet heartbeat of the unseen. Visitors describe the surrounding landscape as both breathtaking and isolating. Towering peaks encircle the station. Snow-covered valleys stretch endlessly. And the road narrows to a ribbon of asphalt that disappears around bends. Visibility is often limited. And the sense of remoteness intensifies the feeling that Winterfall Gas Stop exists between worlds. A threshold where the living meet echoes of the past. The station's exterior adds to the mystery. Snow drifts pile against the walls and gas pumps, reflecting light in ghostly patterns. A lone vehicle may be parked near a pump, seemingly abandoned, yet no footprints surround it. Occasionally, travelers report hearing faint voices carried by the wind, indistinct but undeniably present, suggesting conversations of those long gone, echoing across the mountains and through time. Some who spend the night at the station report dreams or visions that feel too vivid to be mere imagination. They see travelers struggling against snowdrifts, hear the cries of those seeking shelter, and feel the weight of isolation that accompanies a mountain storm. These experiences leave an indelible mark, a reminder of the station's deep connection to the harsh and unforgiving landscape. Despite the haunting phenomena, Winterfall Gas Stop remains a functioning refuge, a necessary stop for those braving the peaks. Attendants who work night shifts often become familiar with the subtle signs of the station's other residents, acknowledging the presence with quiet familiarity. There is a respect that permeates the air, a tacit understanding that the mountain and its spirits demand reverence and careful attention. As darkness deepens, the station glows faintly against the mountain backdrop, its lights casting long shadows across the snow. Figures appear and vanish, whispers drift through the crisp air, and the occasional touch on a traveler's shoulder reminds all who stop that the station is more than it seems. It is a place of history, of memory, and of lingering presence, where the cold and quiet hold stories that are waiting to be felt. Where the cold and quiet hold stories that are waiting to be felt. When dawn breaks, the snow sparkles under early sunlight, and the shadows retreat into hidden corners. The whispers fade, the air warms slightly, and the station seems almost ordinary again. Yet for those who spent the night, the memory lingers of the spectral encounters, the whispers, and the presence of those lost to the mountain storms. Winterfall Gas Stop remains, a silent sentinel on the peaks, a crossroads of the living and the lost, patiently awaiting the next traveler who dares the mountain road after dark. Nestled among fog-shrouded mountains, Mistwood Station sits quietly along a winding, forgotten road. The air is thick with mist, curling around the roof and clinging to the edges of the asphalt. Even in daylight, the station seems isolated, a lone beacon in a landscape of gray and shadow, but it is at night that its presence becomes almost otherworldly. Travelers who arrive after sunset often speak of an immediate stillness that feels different from ordinary silence. It is not just the absence of sound, but a weight in the air, as if the mountains themselves are listening. Footsteps echo softly across the parking lot, yet when visitors turn, the spaces are empty. Inside the small convenience store, whispers drift through the aisles, subtle and fleeting, vanishing whenever anyone tries to locate their source. The lights above flicker without warning, casting momentary darkness along the walls and floors. Shadows move independently of the illumination, stretching and shrinking, shifting in directions that defy reason. Some appear human at first glance, but there is a fluidity, a wavering quality, as if they are memories made visible for a fleeting moment. Windows and glass surfaces become portals to another layer of the station. Figures can be glimpsed, pale and indistinct, standing silently on the far side, observing before disappearing when approached. Their faces are never clear, their eyes hollow, yet the sense of being watched is unmistakable. Visitors report sudden chills or a pressure in the chest, sensations that linger even after leaving the building. Locals have long told stories about Mistwood Station, passing warnings and experiences down through generations. They speak of travelers who became lost in the mountain fog, whose vehicles never returned from the winding roads. Some vanished entirely, their presence leaving no trace but echoes that seem to linger near the station. Over time, the belief grew that Mistwood had absorbed these lost travelers, holding their memories in the shifting shadows and drifting whispers. The surrounding mountains add to the station's eerie atmosphere. Trees bend under the weight of the mist. And streams running from hidden springs create a low murmur that blends seamlessly with the whispers within. At times, the fog thickens so heavily that the station seems to float in a gray void, disconnected from the world below. It is in this environment that the most unusual phenomena occur, subtle signs that something unseen remains nearby. Visitors moving through the aisles notice the temperature shift unexpectedly. A cold spot lingering in one corner. Objects occasionally appear displaced, as though guided by hands invisible to the eye. These occurrences are never violent, but they contribute to the sensation that Mistwood Station exists in a liminal space, between the tangible world and something just beyond perception. Visitors occasionally appear displaced. Objects occasionally appear displaced as though guided by hands invisible to the eye. These occurrences are never violent, but they contribute to the sensation that Mistwood Station exists in a liminal space between the tangible world and something just beyond perception. Many who pass through the station leave with a sense of reverence. The experiences are not frightening in a conventional sense, but they carry a weight that is difficult to describe. Some hear faint laughter or murmured names. An auditory brush from the past that seems to follow for a few steps before fading into silence. Others catch a glimpse of movement in their peripheral vision, only to find nothing there when they look directly. The fog itself seems to be part of the story. It moves in waves, curling through the parking lot, slipping under doors, and swirling around the legs of visitors. The interplay of light, shadow, and fog creates an ever-changing tableau, one that blurs the line between reality and memory. Locals continue to warn travelers to respect the mountain roads, cautioning that Mistwood Station is not merely a stopping point, but a witness to events long past. Some claim that the spirits who linger here are not malevolent, only drawn to the station by the same forces that caused them to be lost. In this way, the station acts as both sanctuary and mirror, reflecting the journeys that ended too soon. Despite its unsettling reputation, Mistwood Station draws a quiet fascination. It is a place where the ordinary and extraordinary coexist, where the line between living and lost becomes indistinct. Travelers who pass through feel a connection, however fleeting, to the lives and stories that remain embedded in the fog and shadows. As dawn breaks and the fog lifts, the station appears peaceful, almost ordinary once more. Yet the whispers, the shifting shadows, and the lingering chill are never entirely gone. They remain woven into the fabric of the place, waiting for the next traveler to arrive, to witness, and perhaps to understand the quiet mystery of Mistwood Station. Blood pine gas sits alone on a remote mountain road, its flickering lights cutting through the darkness like brief, uncertain beacons. The wind moves through the tall pines with a haunting whisper, carrying a chill that seems to follow anyone who stops here. Travelers who approach the station speak of an unsettling presence, as if the mountain itself is alive and watching, waiting for the next soul to arrive. The lights inside the convenience store are unpredictable, flaring suddenly before plunging sections of the room into shadow. Some visitors report cold drafts that seem to move against the natural flow of air, brushing past shoulders and necks with an icy touch. Every flicker of light feels charged, as though the station is responding to something unseen. Outside, the pumps are not as empty as they appear. Figures have been spotted lingering in the glow of the lamps. Sometimes watching silently, sometimes moving slowly, before vanishing entirely. Some say that the figures are the echoes of travelers who never completed the dangerous journey up the mountain. Their presence is fleeting but unmistakable, a reminder of the road's hidden dangers. Inside the store, shadows behave in unusual ways. Items on shelves can appear slightly shifted when glanced at from a different angle. Mirrors and reflective surfaces sometimes reveal figures standing behind visitors, yet when turned to confront them, the space is empty. The air itself feels heavier here, carrying whispers that drift just beyond the edge of understanding. These whispers speak softly, sometimes naming travelers, sometimes offering warnings that vanish with the next gust of wind. Many who stop at Blood Pine Gas late at night describe a peculiar sense of time and distance. The faint sound of engines can be heard, rolling over the pavement, yet no vehicles are in sight. It is as if the mountain holds echoes of those who perished on the road, replaying fragments of their last moments for anyone willing to listen. The sound comes and goes without pattern, leaving drivers with the eerie feeling that the road is never truly empty. Locals speak cautiously about the station. They warn that Blood Pine Gas is not a place to rush through. The mountain is unpredictable, and the spirits are sensitive to disturbance. A sudden movement or loud voice can seem to stir the shadows. And those who ignore these warnings often leave with a lingering sense of being followed. Some travelers have reported interactions that defy explanation. A hand briefly resting on a shoulder, a whisper calling a name long forgotten, or the sudden sensation of being watched from the edge of vision. These moments are fleeting yet vivid, leaving impressions that linger long after leaving the station. Many describe an overwhelming mixture of fear and curiosity, as if the spirits are urging caution but also inviting acknowledgement. The station itself stands as a silent witness to countless journeys, a place where the living and the departed briefly coexist. The architecture is simple, functional, yet worn by decades of exposure to harsh mountain weather. Each crack in the pavement, each dent in the metal pumps, seems to hold a story, a memory of those who never made it past the treacherous roads that wind through the peaks. Nightfall brings the most intense experiences. The darkness amplifies every shadow, and the cold seems to seep into bones. Travelers often find themselves pausing longer than intended, drawn to the eerie atmosphere of the station. Some see movement in the distance among the trees, figures appearing and disappearing with the fog. The faint sound of whispers grows more distinct, carrying fragmented words and names that seem to echo through the night air. Even in the daylight, the station holds an air of quiet unease. The forest surrounding it seems too still, as if it is holding its breath. Travelers who arrive during the morning report a lingering sense that the night has left a trace, a memory that does not fade with the sun. The stories told by locals keep the legend alive, drawing curious souls who hope to catch a glimpse of what lies beyond ordinary perception. For those who brave the mountain road, blood pine gas serves as both a lifeline and a warning. It provides fuel, shelter, and a moment of rest, yet it never fully lets go of those who stop. The station holds the history of the road, the echoes of tragedy, and the presence of spirits who roam between the living world and the unknown. It is a place of reflection, of caution, and of silent stories waiting to be discovered. Visitors leave with a mixture of awe and unease, a sense that they have touched something beyond the ordinary. The flickering lights, the whispers, the figures that appear and vanish, all leave an imprint that cannot be shaken. The figures that appear and vanish, all leave an imprint that cannot be shaken. It is a threshold, a crossing point where the past and present meet, and where the Rwada's dangers are never far from sight. The station stands, quiet but alive, as the mountain wind moves through the trees and the night carries the echoes of those who never reached their destination. Every traveler who stops becomes part of the legend, a witness to the unseen, and a keeper of stories that will continue to whisper along the slopes of Blood Pine Mountain. Raven Peak Station stands alone atop a windswept mountain, its lights a faint glow against the endless darkness. The road leading up is narrow and steep, bordered by jagged cliffs and dense pine forests that sway and whisper with the wind. Travelers who approach after nightfall often feel a chill that is not entirely from the mountain air, a sense that something unseen watches their every move. The station appears ordinary at first glance. A convenience store with a handful of gas pumps and a small parking area. Though the lot remains empty. Soft whispers drift on the wind, carrying names or phrases that vanish as soon as they are noticed. Distant engine roars roll through the valley below, sounding close yet impossible to trace. Inside the store, shadows flit across walls and aisles, moving in ways that defy logic. Some patrons report glimpsing pale faces in the glass of the doors or windows. The feeling of being watched grows with every passing minute, subtle at first, then insistent, impossible to ignore. The pumps outside seem to move of their own accord. Hoses shift slightly as if handled by invisible hands. Digital displays flicker with numbers that have no connection to any vehicle present. Quiet hum of electricity blends with the distant mountain wind, creating a tension in the air. It is as though the station itself remembers every traveler who passed this way. Holding echoes of lives interrupted along the treacherous roads. Whispers in the night carry warnings as well as names. They rise and fall with the mountain wind, sometimes soft and nearly inaudible, other times sharp enough to startle the unprepared. Some visitors have described the sound as a voice that calls out just at the edge of hearing, urging them to move quickly or take caution. The mountains guard their secrets jealously, and the station stands as a quiet sentinel, reminding all who stop here of the dangers that lurk beyond the light. The spirits said to haunt Raven Peak Station are believed to be travelers who never made it off the mountain. Storms, sharp cliffs, and sudden drops have claimed many over the years, leaving only memories suspended in the air. At times, those who linger late enough swear they can feel a presence beside them, guiding them toward safety or simply observing. These apparitions are not threatening in the conventional sense, but their sudden appearance, their silent gaze, leaves a lasting impression. The night atmosphere is enhanced by the interplay of light and shadow. Fluorescent bulbs flicker unpredictably, creating long, shifting forms that seem alive. Even the smallest noise, the rustle of a branch, the creak of a door, become amplified, weaving together a soundscape that is both ordinary and unnervingly strange. Inside the store, shelves are stocked and unchanged, yet the space feels suspended in time. Objects shift subtly when unobserved, a chair slightly askew, a box that has moved a few inches. Some visitors sense the station responding to them, reacting to their presence with movements that are just beyond comprehension. The sensation is a mixture of intrigue and unease, as though the line between the living and the lost is thinner here than anywhere else on the mountain. Outside, the terrain adds to the tension. The slopes are steep, the forest dense, and visibility often limited by fog or the darkness that falls rapidly at this altitude. A sudden storm can isolate the station completely, cutting it off from the world below. In these moments, the whispers grow louder, the shadows more defined, and the feeling of being observed more acute. The mountain seems alive, attentive, and protective of its secrets. Stories from those who have spent the night at Raven Peak Station vary. But the underlying themes are consistent. Figures appear briefly at pumps, frozen in place, then vanish. Voices call names with eerie clarity. Shadows move independently of light. And the air carries the memory of travelers who once navigated the same roads. Each account reinforces the sense that the station is not merely a stop on a journey, but a place where the past lingers. Despite the unsettling presence, the station holds a strange beauty. Moonlight glints off mist, casting the pumps in a soft, ethereal glow. Shadows stretch and dance among the trees, blending with the natural darkness of the mountain. The store lights illuminate the interior just enough to see the aisles, yet the corners remain perpetually shrouded, hinting at movement and presence. It is a place of quiet contemplation, where the ordinary and the supernatural coexist in fragile equilibrium. As the night deepens, Raven Peak Station continues its vigil. The doors may sway, the pumps may move. And the whispers will never cease. Figures linger at the edge of perception. Shadows flit across walls and aisles. And the mountain wind carries stories of those who never returned. Visitors leave with more than fuel or snacks. They carry the memory of a place alive with unseen witnesses. A station that exists between moments, between worlds. Where the living meet the lost. They carry the memory of a place alive with unseen witnesses, a station that exists between moments, between worlds, where the living meet the lost. The final stop at Raven Peak Station reminds travelers that the mountains hold their own laws. Some paths are treacherous, some travelers are never seen again, and some spirits remain patient, waiting for the next soul to pass beneath the peaks. The air, the shadows, and the whispers tell their story silently, leaving each visitor with the haunting realization that they have been part of something much larger, something older, and something that will linger long after the journey continues down the winding mountain road. Thank you for exploring the haunted mountain gas stations of Utah with me tonight. These stations are more than refueling points, they are crossroads where the living and the lost meet. Some visitors leave shaken. Some never return. And some feel the whispers follow them long after the mountains fade from view. If you ever find yourself stopping at a gas station past midnight in Utah, remember these tales. Listen to the whispers, watch the shadows, and beware the unseen hands that linger among the pumps. Would you dare stop for fuel in the mountains at midnight, or would you drive past into the safety of the night? Rest well, my friend, until our next haunted journey.